Habe ich jetzt alles? Alles klar. Willkommen. Wir spielen heute Kyle is Famous. Das ist ein reines Text-Adventure. Also keine Bilder. Traurigerweise. Es ist sehr bizarr, wie man eventuell an den Text bemerken könnte. Ist auch nicht. Es gibt ein paar Stellen in so Richtung War und mit komischen S-Geräuschen, also. Ja, wenn einem.
Kyle woke up. He is famous.
Wenn jemand damit nicht. Ja, komm, tut's mir leid. Ansonsten, ich werde das Spiel hier nicht übersetzen.
Kyle is host of the most popular talk show in recent memory, Stay Up Late with Kyle. Stay Up Late with Kyle has grown in popularity quickly in the last year, and the public has noticed. Inside has called Kyle a most excellent dumpy white man.
Ah, der Traum, so genannt zu werden.
Top Tech noted that Kyle is inspiring youth to explore STEM fields.
Was? Wie macht ein Talkshow-Host das? Ist einfach so ein guter Talkshow-Host, dass sich alle anderen denken, yo, hab eh keine Chance.
Most other talk shows are dedicated to discussing Kyle and his personal details.
Ich liebe es auch, wie over the top die da am Anfang sind.
Most online videos are best-of clips taken from Kyle's latest broadcast.
Die meisten Online-Videos, es ist so schön over the top, es ist so geil.
The eye of the world is upon Kyle.
Außerdem habe ich auch bemerkt, dass ich auf Twitch einen Follower habe.
Tonight
Hat
is
mich echt
Kyle's
gewundert.
most important guest interview.
So, hä? Habe ich auf Twitch schon mal gestreamt?
Stay Up Late with Kyle will be featuring Rachel May. She is a kind and lovely philanthropist. She is dear to the hearts of many. This interview requires preparation.
Weiß schon genau, wie ich mich vorbereiten will.
Knowing today is his last chance to prepare for the interview. Kyle has 30 hours left. He must choose his actions wisely.
60 Stunden, das ist auch irgendwie so eine ganz komische Zahl. Wither away.
Kyle decided to stay put and wither away. Kyle withered successfully and died.
Oh, shucks.
Kyle is now a ghost. This does not relieve him of his responsibilities.
Ah ja, Kapitalismus, ich liebe dich. Okay, ich bin jetzt einfach ein Geist.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for...
Bugs.
Kyle started to pick between the fuzz of his bedroom carpet, hoping to catch a stray beetle or two.
Okay.
Soon, he had a small handful of various insects, dead and alive.
Essen. Lecker.
Kyle threw back his head and crammed the sticky, wriggling mass into his mouth. He felt refreshed.
Refreshed. Oh, das ist ekelhaft. Bad food. Open the closet. Ja, perfekt. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is.
Skunk Pasties. Ist das die Art von Pasties, an die ich gerade denke, oder ist es ein anderes Kleidungsstück? Das ist nicht nur komisch, sondern auch ja, verwerflich irgendwie. Slick Suit, a Suit of Armor. Ich will ja nicht sterben hier.
Kyle was unsure of what exactly caused him to decide to wear his armor, but it felt like the right thing to do. After much squeezing and sweating, Kyle managed to wrap the metal suit around his dumpy self.
Das Dumpy Self, er ist ein Geist. Warum ist das überhaupt eine Herausforderung? Gavin to the desk. Ich bin angezogen. Check in Desk Drawer. Side Drawer, das wäre. Ja, da sind Dinge drin. Schlüssel oder. Kleingeld. Nehmen wir das
Kyle
Kleingeld.
scooped up the change scattered around the desk drawer.
Super. Ich kann das andere Ding auch noch mitnehmen. Interessiert mich irgendwie schon.
Kyle wrote down his first question.
Bist du eine Mutter? Bin ich eine Mutter?
Kyle wrote down his second question.
Das sind Diättipps. Beef. Mashed, das ist doch dieses, wo man das klein prügelt. Und eine Mixer. Hast du schon mal ein rohes Ei ganz gegessen? Mit Schale oder ohne? Dann völlig egal, es ist beides ekelhaft, aber das interessiert mich beinahe mehr. Mashed or blended. Wer packt sein Beef in den Mixer?
Kyle wrote down his third question.
Was ist deine lustigste Geschichte? Lächelst du jemals? Ich hab ein Hündchen überfahren. Mit Absicht. Oh mein Gott. Do you ever smile?
Kyle wrote down his last question.
Are you guilty? Bist du
He
schuldig?
ripped his page of notes out of the notebook and got up from the desk.
Yay. Ich kann es immer noch mitnehmen. Ich nehme den Schlüssel.
Kyle,
Exit bedroom hallway. Check lock door.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
Okay, mein Schlüssel bringt hier nichts. Float through as ghost. Float through as
Kyle used
ghost.
his ghostly powers to walk straight through the door.
Okay, gehen wir rein. Und hab
Kyle
keine
hurried
Zeit
to
mehr.
the set. Per normal, he ceased to be a ghost before he arrived.
Er hat einfach aufgehört, ein Geist zu sein.
Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled.
Approach Rachel, okay.
Good evening, Kyle, she said, looking him in the eyes. I've been looking forward to being here.
Bist du dir sicher, Rachel?
Kyle responded.
Schreien und im Kreis drehen. Schreien und im Kreis drehen klingt
Kyle
gut.
stretched his arms wide, tilted his neck upwards, and was interrupted by his producer
Aw.
telling Rachel that it was time to start the show.
Ich bestehe darauf.
Kyle shoved his producer out of the way, spread his arms wide, and began to scream loudly.
Schade, dass sie den Stream nicht auch noch mitgemacht haben.
He began to rotate slowly, screaming throughout, lightly brushing his hands against the faces of Rachel and his producer.
Ich liebe dieses Spiel.
After several minutes, Kyle was
Nach
finished. He slowly put his
Minuten.
hands to his sides and smiled.
Was ist das für ein Kerl, dass der für Minuten schreien kann?
I'm ready, said Kyle.
Ich bin bereit.
Rachel blinked at Kyle, shrugged, and walked over to her seat.
Ja, dann fangen wir mal an mit dem Interview.
A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on. Good evening,
Fangen wir an.
everyone, said Kyle, looking at the camera. Welcome back to Stay Up Late with Kyle.
Introduce
Kyle
Rachel.
vomited all of the horrible things
Oh.
he'd eaten earlier onto the floor.
Da sind jetzt so ein paar halb verdaute Insekten auf dem Boden.
Rachel looked at Kyle, concerned, gave a couple coughs, and decided to play it cool and keep the show running.
Ah ja.
Kyle stopped, then vomited again, then continued with a shaky voice.
Oh Gott.
Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction. Kyle motioned to Rachel, who smiled and waved at the camera. Hello, Kyle, she said. I'm glad to be here.
Würde ich nicht sagen an dem Punkt, aber
Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss. So we might as well dive right in, said Kyle.
der Narrator ist auch richtig gut.
I'm very ready, said Rachel with a winning smile.
Alles
Kyle
klar.
produced the notes he had taken earlier.
Do you ever smile?
Do you ever smile? Spat Kyle. Like, seriously.
Das fühlt sich jetzt fast schon an wie Projecting.
Rachel stopped smiling.
Oh.
If you're gonna be on the show, you need to smile, okay? Said Kyle, not smiling.
Ehrlich
You're here to
nicht.
get views, and you'll get more views if you smile. Here, I'll show you how. Kyle turned to the camera and gave the audience a huge, teeth-clenched, bug-eyed grimace.
Oh Gott.
Rachel nodded and obviously wanted to move on. Kyle asked another question.
Bin ich eine Mutter?
Rachel, am I a mother? Kyle looked at her very seriously. Rachel was visibly unsure of how to respond. Well, Kyle, I think you might be a better source of answering that question than I am.
Wann kommt der Sequel? Kyle ist trans. Das
What
Spiel
do
würde ich
you
wahrscheinlich
think
spielen
I'm a
sogar.
mother? Asked Kyle, pushing further.
Bist du accepting oder nicht?
Rachel paused for a second before answering. I think you inspire youth to pursue STEM fields.
Was hat
she
das damit
answered.
zu tun?
Kyle asked another question.
Mashed or blended?
Burning question from the fans, said Kyle. Beef, do you prefer it mashed or blended?
Irgendwie
Rachel
langweilig.
answered promptly. Mashed. And no more was said on that matter.
Oh.
Kyle asked another question.
Bist du schuldig?
Rachel. Are you guilty? Rachel's eye twitched slightly. Guilty of what, dear Kyle?
Oh Gott.
Smiled disingenuously. Guilty, spat Kyle. Of your crimes!
An dem Punkt stelle ich mir irgendwie diese eine Szene aus Ace Attorney vor, wo der auf seinen Schreibtisch schlägt im Gerichtssaal.
Rachel did not answer. Her eyelids both started twitching uncontrollably.
Warte, both? Hä?
After reading his final question, Kyle looked up from his paper. Well, Rachel, he said, I think that's all I was planning on asking you. If that's the case, Kyle, may I ask you something in return? Asked Rachel, smiling one more time. Why exactly did you decide to wear a suit of armor today?
Ich musste mich schützen, okay?
Before Kyle could answer, the camera shut down. The broadcast was over. Kyle returned home knowing the interview had gone well.
Ist es das wirklich?
But as he lay in bed and drifted to sleep, he felt that perhaps something was still missing.
Okay. Kyle prepared very well. More world options, yay! Reset to interview. Okay. Exit bed. Ich bin momentan noch nackt. Ich gehe einfach mal raus. Leave apartment. Visit downstairs neighbor.
Kyle approached his downstairs neighbor's door and knocked. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door.
Komm zu, Gabby. Das hier ist mindestens genauso witzig, aber ich muss wissen, was passiert, wenn ich Gabby mitnehme.
And swallowed Gabby whole. Job done. Kyle returned to the middle of the street.
Gabby. Ach komm schon, dafür gibt's keine Voiceline. Okay. Carlos geht in den Tech-Store und da finden wir Techno Jim. Maskottchen.
Quickly, before the attendant could acknowledge him, Kyle grabbed Techno Jim by the shoulders. Finding that Techno Jim's cardboard feet were bolted to the ground, Kyle started to heave upwards.
Heave upwards. Ja, rechts ist
Several
raus.
tugs, Techno Jim broke free, leaving. Kyle glanced at the attendant, who was staring, bewildered, and ran outside.
Mann, das ist ein geiler Tag bei der Arbeit. Da kommt irgend so ein random Hobo nackt rein und klaut das Maskottchen. Ah ja, ich bin wieder auf der Straße. Zurück ins Apartment. Move to kitchen, turn to bedroom. Muss ich noch anziehen. Rusty Locker.
Kyle
What's that
knelt
on
down
this?
and inspected the old, rusty container that had been in his closet for ages. It was locked, but had a blade-shaped slot in the top.
Blade shaped. Alles klar. Muss mich immer noch anziehen.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important.
Skunk
Kyle chose
pasties.
the
Ja.
pasties made out of mashed skunk flesh.
Ekelhaft.
Getting the slimy garments to stay proved difficult, so Kyle opted to stick them to his body with hot glue.
Bin angezogen. Ich hab Gabby. Open the closet. Nee, warte, das ist falsch, verdammt. Und das hat mich 2 Stunden gekostet. Nein! Right Notes.
Kyle
Nee.
wrote down his first question.
Bist du eine Mutter?
Kyle wrote down his second question.
Diättipps oder das Ei? Diättipps.
Kyle wrote down his third question.
Ich hab ein Hündchen überfahren.
Kyle wrote down his last question.
Are you guilty?
Kyle ripped his page of notes.
Taking desk drawer. Oh.
Kyle sitting as Good evening, Kyle, she said, looking him in the eyes. I've been looking forward to being here.
Interview Techno Gym. Interviewe ich jetzt Rachel? Und schau, wie sie auf die Pasties und Gary reagiert? Oder interviewe ich Techno Gym? Komm, Techno
Kyle
Gym.
roughly shoved Rachel out of her seat and placed Techno Jim in her stead.
Der hat's echt verdient.
Hello, Techno Jim, said Kyle. I'm going to interview you today. Kyle grasped Techno Jim's hand and tried to shake it, but instead tore it off the cardboard frame. Kyle's producer, sensing viral media, pulled the bewildered Rachel out of frame and motioned the crew to go live.
Der hat die einfach rausgeholt. Hm. Eine Sache muss ich aber gerade noch machen. Okay. Alles klar, ist schon.
Cameramen moved, lights flashed, and suddenly the studio was on air. Hi, I'm Kyle, said Kyle, and tonight I'm going to interview a very special guest.
Der specialste Gast aller Zeiten.
He pointed at Techno Jim using the dismembered arm.
Techno Gym.
Techno Jim started to smoke from the heat of the lights.
Oh nein.
Would you like to introduce yourself? Asked Kyle. Knowing
Wahrscheinlich
Jim would
nicht.
probably not speak, Kyle took it upon himself to be his voice as well.
Probably not. Okay.
Hi, Kyle, he said, raising the pitch of his voice. My name is Rachel May, and I'm a very special guest.
Ja.
Rachel's expression of confusion turned to shock. Well, Rachel, you look way too thin and absolutely terrible, and you should feel ugly. Kyle gave Jim a meaningful stare.
Was hat Jim dir getan?
Wow, Kyle, he said. I sure wish I could look like you.
Was?
Jim burst into flames.
Techno Gym wurde zu hart geroastet.
Instantaneously, the sprinkler system initiated. Curtains of water poured down from the rafters.
Wasser.
Within seconds, the production equipment was doused in water. The set was soon abuzz with electrical fires. Kyle's crew abandoned their posts as cameramen and sound mixers to try to put the fires out. As the crew scrambled around, the cameras continued to run. Kyle sat, motionless, staring forward.
Einfach geradeaus starren. Der ist einfach am Dissociaten, der Junge.
Eventually, the fires were all put out. Kyle's producer shut off the broadcast, leaving Kyle's vacant stare as the final frame.
Brillant.
Kyle's ratings skyrocketed.
Ah ja, natürlich.
Techno Jim became a staple on the show, often ending up destroyed by the end of each episode. Although Rachel did not come back on the show, her cardboard portrayal did. Rachel was very popular.
Rachel mit U. Kyle interviewt Rachel. Wie set to interview? Ich will noch wissen.
Good evening, Kyle responded.
Das hier hat tatsächlich keine Auswirkungen, also mache ich das nochmal.
Was interrupted by his producer telling him in
Nein, insist.
Kyle shoved his producer out of the way, spread his arms wide, and began to scream loudly. He began to rotate slowly, screaming throughout, lightly brushing his hands against the faces of Rachel and his producer.
Geil.
After I'm ready, said
I'm
Kyle.
ready.
Rachel blinked at Kyle.
Ich bin auch
and
bereit.
walked over to her seat.
Sollte ich ja auch anfangen zu machen vor den Streams.
A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on. Good evening, everyone.
Introduce Rachel.
Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction.
Become Rachel May.
However, said Kyle, suddenly dropping his voice, Rachel May is not sitting next to me. She is not new to this show. She did not walk in before me. In fact, said Kyle, I am Rachel May. Rachel looked at Kyle, confused, and silently mouthed the words, You are who?
See, it's Kyle.
Kyle stood up quickly and threw his arm high above him, pointing upwards. I have never been, Kyle, he proclaimed. I have never been the host of the show Stay Up Late with Kyle.
Klar.
Kyle
Warum
looked
nicht?
and pointed directly at the camera. I am here for but one reason, to interview myself. Kyle sat down in his chair and went to produce the notes he had taken earlier.
Alles klar.
Kyle read the first question on his list. Are you a mother? I'm glad you asked, said Kyle. Yes, I am. Or, yes, you are, said Kyle, trying to figure out who was talking to whom. Or, I am... In a fit, Kyle continued to re-answer his question, trying to come up with the correct phrasing. Rachel spoke up. Kyle, I'm not a mother at all, so it doesn't really matter. Lies! Impossible! I don't believe it! Kyle banged his fist on the chair. Kyle, I've never been in a position for that. I've really just focused on my career. All you need to do is ask. Rachel smiled sweetly. Kyle was silent for a moment. Then, realizing he had no idea what he was doing, he decided to let Rachel talk. So, what about your career? Do you enjoy what you do? How'd you get into it?
Was ein Anfang.
The two continued talking for the better part of an hour, Kyle asking questions and Rachel answering accordingly. Eventually, Kyle's producer signaled to Kyle that it was time to stop. The broadcast ended. The crew, Rachel and Kyle, said their goodbyes and returned home.
Warum funktioniert das?
But Kyle continued to think about Rachel after the interview ended. Something about Rachel had struck Kyle. He wasn't exactly sure what. He
Okay.
did know that he was interested to hear that she was single.
Was? Kyle noticed Rachel. Okay.
Good evening, Kyle.
Interessant.
Kyle responded.
Ah ja, natürlich. Bisschen rumschreien nur wieder. Insist.
After I'm ready, said Kyle. Rachel a moment. Good evening, tonight I have the pleasure of
Introduce
interviewing
Major
the lovely
Ray.
Rachel.
Alles klar.
Kyle motioned to Rachel, who's... In response, Kyle collapsed on the floor.
Ja, geht Sinn. Ich habe nichts gegessen.
From a combination of stressful preparation and not eating anything, Kyle had passed out. Nobody in the studio quite knew what to do with him. They began to poke Kyle in the back to see if he moved. After a while, they ended the broadcast, shut off the lights, and went home.
Ich habe in 30 Stunden nichts gegessen.
Kyle was left face first on the floor.
By starving himself. Okay. Gab's nicht noch in dem Closet irgendwo was?
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important
Jeans and
appearance
swimming
is.
goggles. Ah, nehmen wir das mal.
Kyle decided on a fashion-forward, casual style. He could barely see out of the goggles.
Das nennt der Casual. I returned to the center of the bedroom, ja. Ah ja, interview
Kyle
notes.
wrote down his first question.
Is your mother a
Kyle
mother?
wrote down his second question.
Ever eaten a raw egg whole?
Kyle wrote down his
Puppy,
last
are you guilty?
Kyle
Death Draw habe ich, glaube ich, schon mal gemacht gehabt. Move to Kitchen, ja. Open
Kyle opened the
Fridge.
fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Ich esse den Kühlschrank.
Kyle pointed his neck directly upwards and hoisted the fridge on top of his face.
Okay.
Somehow, miraculously, he wrapped his mouth around the device. He started to swallow.
Oh.
In one slow, horrible movement, the fridge
Was?
slid down Kyle's throat.
Kommst du da so vor? Da war der Fridge irgendwie gerade nicht drin.
After many gurgles, pops, and snaps, Kyle felt relatively sure the fridge would not come back out.
Okay.
Kyle wanted to access the pantry, but found it was locked with a small keyhole.
Ah. Hallway, leave apartment, downstairs neighbor,
A middle-aged woman.
consume Gabby.
Job done. Kyle returned.
Perfekt. Nach Hause.
Sitting as good. Kyle responded.
Ein bisschen rumschreien,
Was
natürlich.
interrupted by his producer telling him and Rachel.
Insist.
Kyle,
Es muss sein.
after.
Ich bin sonst nicht bereit.
A moment after. Good evening, everyone, said Kyle, looking at the cat.
Introduce
Kyle
Rachel.
vomited all of the horrible things he had eaten earlier onto the floor.
Ich hab Gabby mitgebracht.
Rachel looked at Kyle, concerned, gave a couple coughs, and decided. Kyle stopped. Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May.
Is your mother a mother?
Said.
Ich muss wissen, was sie dazu
Rachel
sagt.
looked at Kyle. Kyle. I have never been. Kyle looked and pointed.
Interview
Kyle
myself,
stopped.
ja.
Kyle read the first question on his list. Is your mother a mother? Kyle replied, no, because I am my mother.
Das war's wert.
And, continued Kyle, I am your mother and everyone's mother and also Rachel and Kyle and I'm
Was?
also your children and that woman you met in the coffee shop yesterday and your high school best friend.
Ich bin einfach Gott oder was?
And I'm your friends and I'm that person next to you and I'm also you. Kyle waved his arms around and smiled.
Was?
Nobody seemed to understand. It's a magic trick! Shouted Kyle happily. I'm everyone now!
Es ist ein guter Schrei.
Kyle got up and happily danced out of the studio, arms spread wide.
Arms spread wide. Ich liebe dieses Spiel.
Although not taken seriously at first, sociologists quickly found that Kyle's claims were true. Somehow, magically, Kyle became everyone and nobody else technically existed anymore.
Ich hab das rausgefunden.
After a massive amount of study, it was found that Kyle had stumbled upon a very unexpected sociological loophole.
Was?
Nobody really knew what to do with this newfound discovery, so they decided to do nothing.
So they decided to do nothing.
Kyle continued to be theoretically everyone, and everybody else continued to be theoretically non-existent.
Theoretically.
It was a strange time to be alive.
Kyle was everyone. Ich will den Schrei noch mal hören, ehrlich gesagt.
As Kyle responded.
Ah ja,
Kyle
das
was interrupted by
auch insist. Wichtig.
a moment. Good. Kyle vomited all of the. Rachel. Kyle. Tonight. However.
Ich will's nur noch einmal hören.
Rachel looked at. I have never been, Kyle.
Ist auch ein guter Schrei.
Kyle looked. Kyle sat. Kyle read.
Is your mother
Kyle
mother?
replied.
I am my mother.
Continued Kyle. I'm also your child. And I'm.
Oh.
It's a magic trick! Shouted Kyle happily. I'm everyone now! Kyle got up and happily danced out of the studio, arms spread wide. Although not taken seriously at first, sociologists quickly found that Kyle's claims were true.
Wie hat man das rausgefunden?
It
Okay.
Kyle responded.
Oh, answered politely mal zur
Well,
Ausnahme.
Rachel, answered Kyle, extending his hand in greeting. You are a most welcome guest.
Das ist recht langweilig. Shake
After
hands.
rather mild exchanges of pleasantries, Kyle and Rachel were prompted to take their places for the broadcast.
Alles
A moment
klar.
after seating, the studio lights brightened and the camera. Good evening, everyone.
Introduce Rachel.
All of the Rachel looked at Kyle. Kyle stopped. Tonight. Kyle motioned to Rachel, who smiled and.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss. I'm very. Kyle produced the notes he had taken earlier.
I purposely ran over a puppy.
Hey, I ran over a puppy on purpose, said Kyle. Everyone in the studio froze.
Du
Kyle spread his
Monster.
hands out wide. It's a joke! He started laughing from the bottom of his stomach.
Ja.
Nobody laughed with Kyle. Several minutes later, he stopped laughing and moved on.
Mehrere Minuten später. Oh Gott, da hat er richtig gute
Kyle
Zeit.
asked another question. Hey, Rachel, ever eaten a raw egg whole? Asked Kyle. Like shell and all? Kyle continued. Like a lot. It's really bad though, so sometimes I spit it back up.
Der sagt das da am Ende so, als wäre das eine Frage irgendwie.
There was a silence. It actually gets easier the more you do it, continued Kyle without losing momentum. So don't start, I say.
Fang nicht an.
Rachel chose not to answer and looked in another direction.
Das verstehe ich, Rachel. Das verstehe ich sehr gut.
Kyle asked another question.
Is your mother a mother?
Said Kyle. My mother is a mother. My mother's mother is her mother and my mother's mother. And many mothers have mother's mother's mother. Is your mother a mother?
Was?
Rachel went to answer and stopped. I believe, she said eventually, that I should answer yes?
Ich glaube auch.
Kyle asked another question.
Are you guilty?
Rachel. Are you guilty? Kyle threw his questions on the floor, stood up and pointed at her. Rachel's eye twitched slightly. Guilty of what, dear Kyle? She smiled disingenuously. Guilty, spat Kyle, of your crimes! Rachel did not answer. Her eyelids both started twitching uncontrollably. After reading his final question, Kyle... Well, Rachel? If that's the case, Kyle, may I ask you something in return? Asked Rachel, smiling one more time. Why exactly did you decide to wear swimming goggles today? Before Kyle could answer, the camera shut down. The broadcast was over. Kyle returned home knowing the... But as he lay in bed...
Kyle prepared very well. Interessant. Das Bett. Schau noch mal in dem... Oh, da sind voll mehr Dinge. Ich will den Schlüssel mitnehmen. Back to room. Ja. Das war nicht im Closet, das war im Kitchen. Check pantry.
Kyle wanted to access the pantry, but found it was locked with a small keyhole.
Unlock with small
The
key.
pantry door lock creaked as if it hadn't moved for years, but eventually opened.
Hat's wahrscheinlich auch nicht.
Instead of an assortment of canned goods and grains, Kyle's pantry stored his massive amount of bottled lard.
Chuck a bottle of lard. Das ist ekelhaft. Mach das.
Kyle voraciously grabbed the closest bottle, snapped the neck against the wall, and sucked out all of the fat within a minute.
Gegen eine Wand. Und er hat es nur in einer Minute rausge...
Kyle wildly sucked down another bottle. He felt very sick.
Vomit on floor and stop. Nein. Weiter.
Kyle's vomit and the lard were mixing in a way to make it hard to tell which was which. As Kyle finished the last bottle of lard, he felt a wave of accomplishment come over him.
A wave of accomplishment. Der ist aber stolz drauf. Pet food, ja. Check lock the door, kann ich gerade leider nicht machen. Leave apartment. Visit text door? Nee.
Kyle approached his downstairs neighbor's door and knocked. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door.
Scream and spin.
Slowly, Kyle started to twirl outside of Gabby's door, arms outstretched.
Warum sind die Arme immer gestreckt, wenn er das macht?
He tilted his neck upwards and let loose a long, passionate, and meaningful scream. As Kyle continued to spin, Gabby shut and locked her door, as she did every time Kyle screamed outside her door.
She did every time. Das ist nicht das erste Mal. Das passiert regelmäßig.
Eventually, Kyle ran out of breath and fell over.
Intended for free sample. Yeah.
Kyle asked the store attendant whether or not they offered any free samples to important customers.
The Kostprobe.
The attendant gave Kyle a confused and slightly vacant look. Kyle began to beg for a free sample. Wanting Kyle to leave, the attendant grabbed a decrepit phone meant for spare parts and held it out.
Tief. Einfach reinbeißen.
Kyle firmly clamped his mouth around the outstretched phone, creating several punctures in the screen. Kyle grunted and yanked with his head until the attendant let go of the phone. The phone is now Kyle's to use forever. Kyle hurried to the set. Sitting across from his host, Rachel's smile quickly turned to shock as she realized Kyle had not put on clothes that day.
Ja, hab ich nicht
Kyle waved and
gemacht.
smiled broadly. Rachel uncomfortably averted her eyes.
A working phone.
Kyle started making his rounds around the room, greeting each crew member, none of whom looked at him directly. As it became apparent that Kyle had no intention of leaving, Rachel made some excuses and exited the set.
Die will nicht mit dem nackten Talkshow-Host da eine Talkshow machen?
One by one, the crew followed suit.
Eichling.
Kyle was left all alone.
Oh, got prepared for being a nudist. Browse social media. Nein, ich kann das nicht tun. Wenn ich jetzt anfange, weiß ich doch, dass ich die ganze Zeit nur verplempern werde. Okay, nur ein Post.
Kyle started to scroll through news articles on his phone.
Read article.
Stay Up Late with Kyle ranked #1 and #2 show on television.
Read more. Einer
East
noch.
Bridge being constructed after being found to not actually exist.
Was?
Authorities investigating.
Einer noch.
Another grand larceny and crime spree streak. Evidence points to perpetrator fleeing the country.
Einer noch.
Rachel May to unexpectedly leave the country on very, very long vacation after interview tonight.
Ein letzter.
Who is the bug vigilante recently spotted pursuing larcenists?
Einer geht noch.
Kyle fails to show up to several charity events.
Einer geht noch.
Bug vigilante shows up to charity events with fresh baked pastries. Donations flourish.
Ein letzter.
Hot dogs making resurgence as fuel source for both humans and tugboats.
Wie funktioniert das mit den Worten?
Phone model recalled. Techno gym stores blame overuse by customers.
Was?
Kyle's phone exploded in his hands from overuse.
Oh, it's a broken phone. Oh. Oh nö. Oh, neues Handy. Leave apartment, visit text store. Give review of free sample.
This phone, said Kyle, is several years old and has exposed wires coming out of the back. Kyle continued. Also, the screen has had issues ever since I used it to hammer nails into the wall.
Karl, das habe ich dir nicht mal gesagt, dass du das machen sollst.
Furthermore, when I submerge it in water, I get severely shocked until it runs out of battery.
Er überlebt es auch noch.
The attendant looked at Kyle, pursed his lips, and said nothing. Feeling he had made his argument, Kyle decided to leave.
Was? Ich muss mein Handy reparieren. Oh, dann klaue ich Techno Gym.
Finding that Techno Jim's cardboard feet, Kyle glanced.
Continued with the visit downstairs neighbor.
A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door.
Read and start conversation. Yeah.
Good morning, neighbor, said Kyle cheerfully. Gabby looked at Kyle expectantly.
Sie hat nichts dagegen, dass ich nackt bin. Ask Gabby about Gabby.
Gabby asked Kyle, tell me about yourself.
Oh, ich muss gehen.
Kyle sitting
Er stellt
across
eine
from his
Frage und
chair
rennt
was
auf
a
einmal einfach
glamorous
weg.
woman with an air. As Kyle approached her, Rachel's smile quickly.
Ah, ja. Pepper being a nudist. Broken phone, browse social media.
Kyle started to scroll. Stay up late with.
Mehr. Mehr.
Kyle's phone exploded in his hand.
Okay, das geht nicht noch mehr kaputt. Gibt der End of Day.
Kyle hurried to the set.
Oh, lustig, dass ich das machen kann. Exit bed. It was dark. Oh. Oh, andere Idee. Is that a desk? Second desk drawer. Ja, da ist eine Flashlight. Dann.
Kyle grabbed.
Und hier ist Sort of Change.
Kyle scooped up the change.
Ja. Ich gehe jetzt in den Technologieladen. Da kaufe ich Batterien. Buy batteries for change. Ja, perfekt.
Kyle counted out $1.98 in pennies and nickels and traded them for a small packet of batteries. Kyle crammed the batteries into his flashlight.
Down the street. Down to apartment. Down to bedroom. Open the closet. Inspect the flashlight. Yes.
Kyle shined his flashlight into his moist cave-like closet. Not
Moist
seen light in years.
cave-like. Ugh.
After several minutes of searching around with the light, Kyle saw something unusual in the back. There was a pile of strange items, including a small metal box with a large red button stamped with Travel Time.
Travel time.
Kyle, bored of the situation, mashed the button, hardly reading the label above. The box hummed and
Oh.
shook. The outside metal grew hot and slowly curved in on itself.
Uh.
In the morning, Kyle had gained several hours of preparation time.
Oh. Da kann ich ja nochmal ins Closet. Choose an outfit. Ja, skunk pasties.
Kyle, getting the slot.
Open closet. Old flashlight. Inspect rusty
Kyle
locker.
knelt down and inspected the old rusty.
Oh, stimmt. Gut, dann schreibe ich einfach
Kyle wrote
Fragen.
down his first question.
Am I a mother? Warte, was hatte ich vorher? Vorher hatte ich Are you a mother genommen und dann war ich sie. Am I a mother?
Kyle wrote down his
Ist
second
Kyle
question.
eine Mutter? Komm,
Kyle
Diet-Tipps
wrote
habe ich auch noch
down
nie
his
gehört.
third question.
What's your
Kyle
funniest
wrote
story?
down his last question.
Do you feel guilty?
Kyle
Willst du dich schuldig? Check in Desk Drawer. Naja, den Schlüssel habe ich schon benutzt. CD. Klassische Musik. Many of the CDs were unlabeled or broken. Oh. Oh nein. Okay, klassische Musik. Hab ich was an? Ja, habe ich. Und ich habe eine CD. Back to room. Scavenge.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for...
Ressourcen.
Kyle began to comb through the damp piles of filth and mold on his floor in search of helpful items.
Die. Feuchte Haufen Dreck und Mold.
After finding and eating a few bits of crumbs and old cheese, Kyle found something much more important. Indeed, it was the corpse of Harry, the friend that had gone missing years ago while at Kyle's house. Kyle was glad to see him again, but was unsure of whether to interrupt such an important day with Harry business.
Harry, du musst leider warten.
Kyle decided Harry could wait another day and quietly folded a pile of filth back on top of him.
Scavenge.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his
Ich brauche den Gossip.
Kyle firmly pressed his ear into the carpet, hoping to hear some stray words from the neighbors below. I heard Rachel May is going on a trip out of the country soon. Oh, girlfriend, tell me more. Well, what I will tell you is that every night I don a mask that looks like a bug and fight misdoers.
Gabby?
There was a stunned silence. Then a door opened, and someone exited the neighbor's apartment.
That's quite enough.
Kyle hurried to the set. Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As
Rachel May.
Kyle responded.
Scream and spin in circles.
Was interrupted by his producer.
Insist.
He began. I'm ready, said Kyle.
Gossip. Ich hab den Gossip mitgenommen.
A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on.
Gossip about neighbor. Was?
Good evening, everybody, said Kyle. My neighbor is a bug vigilante.
Okay.
With nothing more to say on the matter, he fell silent. Rachel, also on camera, stared at her hands and wondered when she was going to be introduced. The producer started cutting to different camera angles to break the tension.
Sagt einfach nichts mehr.
Kyle continued to remain silent and stare forward blankly.
Warum?
After several minutes, neighbor Gabby walked out onto set.
Gabby.
Hi, everyone, she said, smiling hollowly. My name is Gabby, and I'm not a bug vigilante.
Die Tatsache, dass sie hier ist, lässt sie nur verdächtiger aussehen.
False. Kyle looked at Gabby and then returned to staring forwards.
Ist das alles, was du zu sagen hast, Karl?
Gabby began to reply, but was interrupted by a bug-shaped intercom on her belt.
Ja, warum nicht?
Bug girl,
It squawked.
a robbery's in progress on East 3rd. Report immediate.
Gabby threw the intercom on the ground and crushed it under her foot. After
Okay.
the beat, she spoke tightly. Something has come up suddenly and I must go. Gabby left the set.
Ah ja.
Well, said Kyle. That's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Die braucht eh keiner.
Kyle got up, shook Rachel's hand again, and walked past the cameras, leaving her alone. Not knowing what else to do, the producer ended the broadcast.
Alles klar.
In the coming days, fans of both Rachel and Kyle dubbed this show as a masterpiece of television.
Klar. Natürlich.
Stay Up Late with Kyle's online pages were updated to reflect this broadcast as the most popular ever.
Ich dachte, das hätten wir schon längst etabliert.
Kyle's producer later tried to have Rachel on the show again, but she was very, very, very busy.
Ah ja. Talked about Gabby.
Kyle hurried to the set. Sitting across as Kyle
Scream and spin in
was
circles.
interrupted by his
Insist. Ich bestehe darauf.
A moment after
Star
Good
Broadcast.
evening, everyone, said Kyle. Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs...
Become Rachel May.
She is not new. Rachel... Kyle... Kyle looked and Kyle sat... Kyle read the first question on his list. Are you a mother?
Well,
He said, brightening.
I'm glad you asked. Yes, I have produced many, many, many children.
Warum,
In
Karl?
fact, said Kyle, motioning to Rachel,
One of my children is sitting here with me today.
Motioning to Rachel.
Rachel looked incredibly confused. After a moment, Kyle spoke again.
I am your mother!
He stood up again.
Give me a big hug, daughter!
Das ist auf einmal eine ganz komische Reality-TV-Serie.
After a moment more, Rachel shrugged, stood up, and gave Kyle a hug. The interview continued, Kyle talking about his supposed raising of Rachel and their times together. Rachel engaged in the interview with exuberance, answering questions as best she could and enjoying every moment.
Alles klar.
From this episode, Rachel's childhood and family became a debated topic in her fan base. When fans asked Rachel about the matter, she would giggle and make a joke about the interview. Scientists and fans began to dig deep, finding evidence both for and against the Kyle is Rachel's mother theory.
Was für früher? Für die Theorie. Was gibt's da für Beweise
But no matter
für?
how much anyone dug, nobody was able to come to a conclusion on the matter.
Was?
Kyle had created a public mystery.
Ha?
Sitting across... Good? Kyle responded.
Answer politely.
A moment after seating, good evening, Tonight,
Produce CD.
As Rachel started to reply, Kyle clamped his hand over her mouth. Hush, he said. I need to do something before we can continue. Kyle removed the CD he had brought to the interview and placed it in a nearby player deck.
Praktisch, dass wir eins da
The
haben.
sound system kicked into action, piping Kyle's music throughout the studio.
Okay.
Rachel briefly listened, a blank expression on her face.
Besonders gut ist es nicht.
Smiling, Kyle closed his eyes and enjoyed the music for a moment. Then, he spoke. All right, now everything's ready. Let's begin. Kyle produced the notes he had taken earlier.
Jetzt habe ich die ganze Zeit diese Hintergrundmucke. Ey, was ist auf einmal so ein Pokémon-Kampf? What are some diet tips?
Rachel, you managed to keep...
Wie kann ich abnehmen, Rachel? Sag es mir.
Kyle, what is your best diet?
Das muss ich dringend wissen.
I'm sorry, Kyle, said Rachel. What on earth is this music? It's very... Well, it's something.
Hört sich beinahe an wie Videospielmucke.
It's an old favorite, Rachel, said Kyle. This is what I grew up on. It's part of my most special collection. Kyle and Rachel sat silently, the music playing in the background. Rachel began to frown. Suddenly, the wall next to Kyle exploded. Through the hole stepped several men in dazzling, flamboyant costumes of bright color. They held guitars, pianos, and other instruments.
Natürlich.
Kyle,
Said the man in front.
we are the band of your childhood.
Ah, nett, dass ihr auch drankommt.
Kyle's jaw dropped, smiling. He put his hands to his cheeks. His eyes sparkled.
Oh mein Gott, YouTuber-Thumbnail.
We have come to issue a grievance about playing our music on TV without a license.
Ihr solltet lieber froh sein, dass überhaupt irgendwer mal ihre Musik spielen will.
The man took his guitar in both hands and began slamming Kyle's face repeatedly.
Mit welchem Ende, wenn ich fragen darf?
After several hours, the grievance had been sufficiently repaid. The band left through the hole they had created in the wall. Kyle lay on the floor, thinking about what had happened.
Wenigstens ist es nicht so eine normale Cartoon-Logik, wo die dann noch ein Loch in der Wand kreieren. Direkt neben dem
Rachel slowly
ersten.
slid to his side. Are you feeling okay, Kyle? She asked. She had a concerned expression on her face. Have you ever met your childhood idol, Rachel? Asked Kyle. The person you looked up to for as long as you can remember. I can't say I have. Kyle raised both fists into the air.
It feels amazing!
Wenigstens hatte er Spaß.
Kyle spent the rest of Rachel's interview chatting happily about meeting his lifelong favorite band. Rachel listened and asked questions politely, seeming unfazed that her moment on TV had been uprooted. Eventually, the studio was out of time and the broadcast shut off. Kyle and Rachel walked out of the studio together. Kyle was grinning widely. The two said their goodbyes and walked off in separate directions. As Kyle walked home, he felt like the interview had been everything he had hoped it to be. Kyle had gotten everything he had ever wanted as a child.
Played Music. Ja, gut, warum auch nicht. Wither Away.
Kyle is now a ghost. This does not relieve him of his responsibilities.
Okay. Weiß, es gab noch irgendwo was, wo ich einfach durch die Wand konnte. Check locked
Kyle
door.
walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
Not through as ghost.
Kyle used his ghostly powers to walk straight through the door.
Various items sent to him by his hands. Check sewing machine. Supernatural Artifact Laser Claymore. Einfach ein Zweihänder-Lichtschwert. Schauen wir nach der Sewing Machine.
Kyle walked over to the dilapidated
Erster das
sewing machine.
Langweiligste.
Its box was only half removed.
Okay. Das alles? Check Supernatural Artifact.
This was one of the many mysterious artifacts Kyle had been sent over the years.
Smash Artifact.
Kyle began pounding the mysterious artifact with both fists. Within a few hours, it had become dust. An ancient force trapped in the artifact was released and turned Kyle into a lizard demon.
Klar, natürlich. Lizard Demon. Get Laser Claymore.
Expecting a battle, Kyle grabbed the laser claymore.
Perfekt. Back to hallway. Through side door. Oh. Oh, oops. Turn to bedroom. Ich muss noch ein Outfit raussuchen. Skunk Pasties klingt gut. Exit bedroom to hallway, move to kitchen. Open fridge. Prepare breakfast.
Kyle constructed a breakfast of poached eggs and toast, along with a small fruit cup and grilled sausage.
Smash.
Kyle smashed his breakfast to a pulp using both fists.
Oh, verdammt, ich hab nichts gegessen.
Kyle hurried to the set. Sitting across as Rachel's smile turned to horror as she realized she was looking not at a human, but a lizard demon.
Ja, tut mir leid.
Pandemonium ensued. Scripts went flying, crew members ran in all directions, lights were knocked over.
Wait, Pandemonium Scripts?
As Kyle watched the
Wollen die mich
chaos around him,
exorzieren?
his lizard demon form enveloped his last shred of humanity.
Was?
Kyle grew to a massive size. Within minutes, he had demolished the now empty set.
What?
A local force of 5 spunky teenagers in brightly colored apparel arrived at the scene to fight Kyle.
Okay.
As the teenagers swung at him with their spunky, individualized weapons, Kyle pushed them over with his foot.
Spunky individualized weapons. Oh my god.
Kyle's rampage of the studio ruins continued, but in another part of the city, a hero was rising up. In a dusty apartment on the top floor of an old skyscraper in the oldest part of town sat a large man named Frank.
Frank. Okay, Frank.
Few people in the world knew that Frank existed. Fewer knew his name. Frank was watching the local news. A story about the studio rampage was playing.
Frank's
Frank
place?
got up from his chair. He opened a small door hidden behind a poster on his wall. Inside was an unbelievable mound of fat-ridden foods, unrefrigerated and fairly rotten.
Verrottet.
Frank began to consume the mound at a frightening rate. His body began to puff.
Okay.
Frank expanded, faster and faster with each minute. He burst through the roof. Within minutes, Frank was a towering behemoth. He rolled across the city, rebounding off of buildings and getting cheers from onlookers below. Approaching Kyle, Frank gave a long, painful heave upwards into the sky. To Kyle, the sky turned black. He looked upwards to see the monstrous figure hurtling towards him. And in a moment, Kyle was completely enveloped in rubbery fat, unable to move or make noise. Frank was quite tired and passed out where he lay.
Okay. The author's barely disguised fetish.
Several years went by as Frank slumbered.
Several years.
As Kyle was held in Frank's warm, fatty embrace, his humanity began to return.
Solange die Umarmung da nicht auch noch schwitzig ist,
When the
schwitzig
first winter
geht's.
came, Frank's body recycled his fat for resources. Over many months, he shrank in size. Eventually, Kyle was human and Frank was thinned. They both walked away from the scene as new men. Neither realized how much time had passed.
Was? Car prepared by being a lizard. Ich habe auch Dinge freigeschaltet, ja. It's a flashlight. Oh, Licht. Backgrounds. Nehmen wir Pink. Habe ich? Nee, nicht das. Habe ich Pink? Ja. Okay.
Woke up.
Ja, das ist auf jeden Fall sehr viel heller als der andere.
Kyle
Shucks. Open closet. Use an outfit, yeah.
decided to take some time to choose the
A suit of armor.
After much squeezing and
To the desk. Ich brauch Notes.
Kyle wrote down
It's your mother and mother.
Kyle.
Perfekt. Back to room. Das Owl ist hier unten, das ist jetzt auch gelb. Backlock door. Go through his ghost. Ich hole mir die Laser Claymore. Ich nehme das Artefakt mit.
Kyle stashed the mysterious artifact for later use.
Check the sewing machine, ja.
Kyle walked over to the
Check the sewing machine.
Kyle walked over to the dilapidated sewing machine. Its box was only half removed.
Check sewing machine.
Kyle walked.
Die Sewing Machine ist wichtig für mich.
hurried to the set.
Ich bin kein Geist mehr.
As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled.
What's this doch? Throw artifact at Rachel.
As she approached to shake his hand, Kyle produced the supernatural artifact and winged it at Rachel's face. Within moments of the artifact colliding with her head, Rachel started to turn into a lizard demon. Rachel began to cause destruction, tipping over lights and causing crew members to scatter. Kyle, realizing the disaster he had caused, decided it was up to him to tame the monster.
Throw self at monster. Ich bin
He
bereit.
launched himself at the monstrous Rachel.
Ja.
In a great collision of flesh, Kyle rammed face first into the monster's stomach.
Face first, das ist nicht
Kyle
gut.
continued to launch himself into Rachel's stomach with wild abandon.
Nimm dein
After
Schwert.
several dozen collisions, small insignificant bones in Kyle's body began to fracture. Kyle continued.
Du hast ein Schwert,
Rachel began
Bruder.
to lose stamina from the incessant damage Kyle was inflicting upon her. Kyle continued his assault. Nobody present could tell what parts of his body were bruised and what weren't.
Was?
Eventually, in one well-placed lunge, the artifact embedded in Rachel's face popped out. Immediately, Rachel turned back into her normal human self. The studio, now in shambles,
Was?
flicked to life. The broadcast had started automatically.
Wir machen das jetzt immer noch.
Kyle, unable to move properly, became aware that the eyes of many were upon him. Kyle tried to address the audience, but instead spewed some mixture of breakfast phlegm and chunks of plaster. Kyle's spewing video became a very hot meme.
Was?
Online personalities used it to express distaste about social issues. Teenagers sent it to each other about homework amounts.
Ja, warum
Rachel's
nicht?
broadcast was rescheduled for the following week. Fans complained about not being able to see Rachel's face as she wore protective headgear the entire time.
Hat sie das? Rachel prepared by being a lizard. Turn to interview.
Kyle sitting as Kyle approached. As with it, Rachel began to call.
Okay.
Kyle
Was wissen, was
realized the
passiert, wenn ich die
disaster.
Crewmembers werfe.
Kyle started to grab nearby crew members and hurl them at Rachel. The crew members rebounded off of Rachel on all sides, causing little to no damage to her or themselves.
Okay.
In a lizard demon rage, Rachel rushed at Kyle and drove him into the opposite wall, face first. She began to pound Kyle's face into the wall repeatedly, littering it with head-sized holes.
Komm schon, ich habe eine Rüstung an.
Kyle, having been in this situation before, felt he knew exactly what to do.
Was? Der kennt die Situation schon so, jo. Ist halt das Normalste der Welt. Ich persönlich bekämpfe jeden Tag Echsendämonen.
Balling his fists, Kyle began to punch himself in the stomach repeatedly, causing loud gurgles and pops.
Du hast ein Schwert, Bruder.
Kyle's strategy did not help. He continued to be mashed into the wall. After a period of time, the artifact lodged in Rachel's face came loose and fell to the floor. Rachel immediately... The studio now... Kyle, unable to... Kyle tried... Kyle's...
Okay, das ist dasselbe.
Rachel's broadcast... Fans complained about...
Rachel prepared by being a lizard. Dieses Mal
As Kyle...
ohne
Good
Artefakt.
evening. Kyle responded.
Stream and spin in circles.
Was interrupted by his producer.
Insist. Das ist wichtig für mich.
After several... I'm ready.
Sehr schön.
Rachel blinked at a moment.
Our broadcast
Good evening.
introduced Rachel.
Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who... Kyle... In response,
Oh.
Kyle collapsed on the floor. From a combination of stressful preparation and not eating anything, Kyle had passed out. Nobody in the
Oops.
studio quite knew what to do with him. They began to...
Ja. Gut, so viel dazu. Okay, wither away.
Kyle
Get up bed, check lock door,
walked over to the strange...
go through his ghost, ja. Laser Claymore.
Expect...
Nimm das Artefakt auch
This
mit.
was one of the... Kyle stabbed...
Back to hallway, return to bedroom,
Kyle quickly
scavenge
crouched down on...
for resources.
Kyle was glad to see him again, but
Deal with Harry?
Kyle hoisted Harry onto his shoulder and took him outside. Kyle began dragging Harry's body down the street, drawing many, many stairs.
Ah, ich wollte ihn eigentlich mit dem Artefakt
Kyle
verwandeln.
knew exactly where he needed to take Harry's corpse, on a lovely playdate, just the two of them. Kyle and Harry started at the arcade. Kyle used Harry's arms to operate the joysticks and push buttons.
Ich hatte beinahe schon gehofft, dass es gibt ein
After
Artefakt.
5 or 6 different games, the two friends had enough tickets for a single candy bar.
Ja, kommt hin.
They took their prize to the local park for eating.
Machen die einen auf Lady and the Tramp und so jeder an einem Ende.
Kyle tried to feed some of the chocolate bar to Harry, but Harry seemed to not have an appetite.
Frag mich wieso.
After eating, Kyle noticed a nearby playground. He dragged Harry over.
Aber das fällt mir erst jetzt auf. Ich bin. Kyle ist gerade einfach ein Geist mit einem Schwert. Und nackt. Und der zieht da so eine Leiche hinter sich her.
Kyle tried to figure out a way to swing Harry onto the swing set, but lacking the ability to grip, Harry kept falling out. Instead, Kyle started to lug Harry to the top of the slide and shove him down time and time again.
Yippie!
Finally, Kyle took Harry to the movies to see as many popular films as their pocket change allowed. Kyle quickly found that he had no pocket change, so he searched through Harry's pockets until he found his wallet.
Was passiert, wenn ich da Pocket Change dabei
Kyle
habe?
bought 2 tickets to A Love Romance. After getting inside, Kyle left Harry to go find a restroom. By the time Kyle had finished using the restroom, he had forgotten that he brought Harry along. Kyle watched A Love Romance by himself. Harry's corpse sat on a bench in the atrium. While Kyle was in the movie, a beautiful thing happened. Harry's corpse, imbued with the power of friendship and love, was reanimated. Harry's old, rotten flesh gained color and life. His fingernails regrew. His missing eye came back. By the time the movie was over, Harry was able to greet Kyle with a large, friendly hug as his old self.
Good. Friendship is magic.
Kyle was confused but delighted to have his long-lost friend meet him on his way out of the theater. The two made plans to get drinks together and parted ways for the day. Kyle returned home, forgetting about the interview with Rachel.
Kyle helped a friend. Kyle had many adventures around town. Alles klar. Wither away. Ich muss mal ganz kurz sterben. Open Closet. Oh nö, das ist nicht das, was ich dachte. Und dann den Desk. Ein Desk Drawer. Sort of change. Ja, damit. Kann ich mit Harry auch CDs hören? Ist ja auf jeden Fall lustig.
Finally, Kyle took Harry to the movies to see as many popular films as their pocket change allowed.
Ich hab Pocket Change.
Kyle had plenty of pocket change. He eagerly approached the ticket window. Kyle bought 2 tickets to A Love Romance. After getting inside, Kyle left Harry to go find a restroom.
Okay.
By the time Kyle,
Ja, es ist nicht anders.
the two made Kyle
Oh. Traurig. Brauche ich die Laser Claymore vielleicht nochmal? Gerade nicht. Scavenge.
quickly crouched down on the floor.
Bugs.
Soon he had a
Save for later
Kyle stashed
use.
the wriggling mass for later use.
Und der hat das wahrscheinlich irgendwo in seiner Hosentasche oder so. Wie? Open the closet. Ah ja. Kleidung.
Kyle decided to take some time to
Skunk Pasties.
getting. Kyle wrote down his first question.
Am I a mother?
Kyle wrote down his second question. Kyle
I-
wrote down his third question.
What's your funniest
Kyle
story?
wrote down his last question.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Kyle.
Ich hab was an, ich muss noch was essen. Closets, exit bedroom to hallway, move to kitchen.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Eat crust on fridge wall.
Kyle started scraping streaks of crud and spots of mold off of the walls of his fridge.
Mmm.
After wadding it into a crusty, moist ball, Kyle popped it into his mouth and began to chew. Several minutes of crunching later, Kyle finished and swallowed the ball whole. It felt sticky in his stomach.
Oh, das ist ekelhaft. Check pantry.
Kyle wanted to access the
Ah ja. Check pantry. Wichtig für mich.
sitting as Kyle. Good evening. Kyle responded.
Answer polite. Nee, einmal schreien
Was
bitte.
interrupted by,
Insist. Ich bestehe darauf.
I'm ready, said Kyle.
Hervorragend.
Rachel blinked at Kyle, shrugged, and walked over to her seat. A moment. Good evening, everyone. Kyle
Use
vomited.
Rachel more. No.
Kyle. Tonight I have the pleasure of interviewing. Kyle
Komm,
motioned
Rachel
away.
May, habe ich schon gemacht.
I'm very ready. Kyle produced the notes he had taken earlier.
Okay. What's your guilty
You
pleasure?
all have one. What's your. Ooh, well, that's an easy answer, said Rachel, dipping pickles in chocolate sauce.
Saure Gurken in Schokoladensauce. Ja, mach du nur.
It might sound strange, but it's tangy and sweet at the same time. I eat it far too often. Rachel smiled sweetly. Kyle asked another question.
What's your funniest story?
You've been involved in a lot of different things, said Kyle. But what's your funniest story? Well, that's a great question, Kyle, said Rachel.
Also, was ist es?
I think the story I always remember is the first time I tried to make dinner for my family. In the soup I made, I swapped out the water with milk and tipped the whole jar of salt in the pot. While
Ah,
my family was sick from trying to eat it, I swiped their things and locked myself in my room. Rachel laughed elegantly. Kyle decided to move on.
wenn jemand elegant lachen kann, dann ist das kein echtes Lachen.
Kyle asked another question.
Der Wegener Code.
Kyle, there. It actually gets easier the more you do it.
Und start.
Kyle asked.
Einmal.
Well, Kyle, But... Well, Rachel? If that's the... What on earth are you wearing? Are they made of skunks?
Das sind sie.
Before... Kyle... But as he...
Alles klar. Reset. Okay, was kann ich noch machen? Ich kann noch mal sterben gehen. Scavenge.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need. Kyle firmly... Well, there was...
Was passiert, wenn ich Gossip dabei habe und Gabby? Choose an outfit. Choose an outfit,
Kyle
ja.
decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is.
Das Slick Suit. Zur Ausnahme. Notes. Write notes, yeah.
Kyle wrote down his first...
Is your mother
Kyle
mother?
wrote down his se-
Diet
Kyle
tips.
wrote down his third question.
What's your funniest story?
Kyle
Ja.
wrote down
Are
his...
you guilty?
Ki-
Desk Drawer habe ich, glaube ich, gerade nichts. Dringend was essen.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Eat condiments.
Kyle started to grab condiments from the fridge, squirting them into his mouth with both hands.
Also sowas wie Mayo, Ketchup, Senf.
Ketchup, horseradish, and mayonnaise entered Kyle's mouth at a rate that soon overwhelmed his ability to swallow.
Ugh.
Kyle spewed the excess condiment slurry across the kitchen, covering the furniture and walls. Kyle continued until all of the condiments had been emptied.
Der hat das für mehrere Stunden jetzt gemacht. Ugh. Leave apartment. Okay, ne.
Kyle hurried. As
Dafür reicht's nicht.
Kyle responded,
Scream and spin in circles.
was interrupted by his producer.
Insist.
Kyle shut.
Wichtig.
A moment after seating, the
Gossip
studio
about neighbor.
cameras clicked on.
Noch nicht.
Good evening. Tonight, I have the pleasure. Kyle. Kyle produced the notes.
Are you guilty?
Rachel's eye twitched. Guilty.
Guilty of your
Rachel did
crimes.
not answer.
Call the police.
Kyle whipped out his phone and started dialing the police. Kyle quickly realized that the broken phone he had gotten for free was not able to call anyone.
Aww.
Kyle looked sadly at his hand, realizing he had botched a wonderful opportunity to be helpful. Rachel looked at Kyle smiling. What's the problem, Kyle? Anything I can help you with? Kyle looked up from his hand sadly. He slowly shook his head. The interview continued on. Kyle forced a smile through the entire episode, but he felt very sad inside. Kyle had missed his chance to be helpful.
Kyle wasn't helpful. Oh.
Kyle,
Kann ich sie selbst konfrontieren vielleicht? Open Closet.
Kyle decided.
Suit of Armor. Ich bin bereit. Desk. Write Notes. Ich brauche eigentlich nur eine Note.
Kyle wrote.
Are you guilty? Das ist alles, was ich brauche. Haunt around. Mach ich gleich, mach ich
Kyle
gleich.
approached a middle.
Konsum,
Kyle, job done.
Konsum, Gabby. Move to kitchen. Open fridge, schnell, mach dir was zu
Kyle
essen.
constructed a
Ess es.
Kyle ate his breakfast slowly and thoughtfully, enjoying every bite.
Warum war dieses Geräusch so
He felt
grausam?
refreshed.
Return to hallway. Leave apartment.
Kyle hurried to the set, sitting across from his host chair. As Kyle responded,
Scream and spin in circles.
was interrupted by his producer.
Insist. Ich hätte die Laser Claymore mitnehmen müssen.
A moment. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, Kyle.
Ich hab Gabby nicht wieder rausgeholt.
Kyle produced the notes he had
Are
taken.
you guilty?
Rachel's eye. Rachel did not answer. Her eyelids both started twitching uncontrollably. Kyle asked another question.
Okay, traurig. Wither away.
Kyle.
Der Desk, das habe ich denn noch nicht genommen. Is how to change flashlight.
Kyle grabbed the.
That's how to change. Red notes.
Kyle wrote down his. Kyle wrote. Kyle.
Alles klar. Leave apartment, visit tech store. Buy batteries.
Kyle.
Schnell nach Hause. Dann to apartment. Then to bedroom, open closet, inspect the flashlight.
After
Komm schon.
a pile of
Travel time, yeah.
The box hummed and shook. The outside metal grew hot.
Ew.
Kyle had gained several hours of preparation time.
This change, ghost, notes. Ich brauche noch Klamotten.
Kyle,
Auch Rüstung.
after
Brauche
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly Kyle.
die Laser Claymore. Wichtig. Okay. Back to hallway. Leave apartment.
Kyle,
Gabby.
a middle-aged Kyle, job.
Went to apartment. Kitchen check pantry. Nee. Open fridge.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Eat the fridge.
In one, after many gurgles,
Nee, das war's. Ich bin fertig. Leave apartment. Haunt around mache ich dann danach. Visit tech store. Hier, Techno Gym. Ich brauche
Kyle
ihn.
glanced at the attendant.
Ich bin bereit.
Kyle hurried to the set, sitting across. As Kyle, good evening, Kyle. Kyle responded. Good, Kyle. Rachel looked at. Kyle stopped.
Ja,
Tonight, Kyle.
jetzt habe ich Gabby.
Kyle produced the notes he had taken.
Are you guilty?
Guilt. Rachel did not answer. Kyle whipped out his. Kyle quickly realized. Kyle looked. What's the problem, Kyle? Kyle.
Das alles? Oh. Okay, was gibt's noch, was man tun kann? Leave apartment.
Kyle,
Is it downstairs,
a
neighbor?
middle-aged woman. Good morning, neighbor, said Kyle cheerfully.
Ask Gabby about Kyle. Spiel bitte. Spiel, was soll das? Oh. Das Spiel will nicht mehr gespielt werden. Es ist abgestürzt. Du wirst gespielt, ob du willst oder nicht.
He is famous.
Ah, perfekt, läuft wieder. Warte, nein, mein Spielstand. Ah, ich habe eh nichts gemacht.
Kyle
Exit bedroom to hallway. Leave apartment. Haunt around.
Kyle felt a sudden pull on his heart. Had he abandoned his job as a ghost? Was he fulfilling his spooky, ethereal role that he'd accepted while lying in bed this morning? Kyle realized he had no other choice. He must spend his day spooking about. Kyle decided he should make a plan about who or where he should spook.
Spook himself.
Kyle could think of nobody better to spook than himself. Kyle sat on the sidewalk and looked at the ground. He took a deep... Kyle began to scream uncontrollably as he had managed to spook himself by his very existence.
Oh, Kyle.
Kyle
Relatable.
jumped up from the sidewalk and began to run around, flailing his arms. Unfortunately, Kyle was unable to escape from the fact that he was himself.
Oh, Kyle, so relatable.
Kyle spent several minutes screaming. But as he screamed, Kyle realized it was becoming time for Rachel's interview. Continuing to scream, Kyle traveled to his studio. That evening, Kyle tried to do... But being able to only express pure terror, the episode consisted only of Rachel watching him scream. The episode was very popular. Kyle was asked to continue screaming in the next episode, and the next. Kyle's show was rebranded to Kyle is Scared with Kyle. The studio went on to produce many episodes. Kyle remained existentially terrified of himself.
Kyle remains relatable. Kyle haunted himself.
Kyle's first decision of the morning was Kyle decided to stay put.
Oh, das ist das.
Kyle walked into the small hall.
Okay, wither away.
Kyle,
Ich muss wissen, was bei den anderen Spook around.
had he a bit? Kyle decided.
Spook neighbor Gabby.
Kyle believed that Gabby would be delighted to have him spook about a bit. Kyle started to slowly creep to Gabby's door in a very spooky way.
Ich weiß nicht, was das heißt, aber
He crouched
gut.
by Gabby's door.
Also ich weiß, was das heißt, aber ich weiß nicht, wie das aussieht.
So he could cause her a spook. It didn't take long. Soon, Gabby exited her apartment and started walking towards her car. Kyle crept behind her, invisible to all senses. Gabby opened the driver's side door and got in. She seemed to be leaving for some errands.
Ah, interessant.
Kyle was struck with a wonderful idea. Kyle started to run to the back of Gabby's car. Perhaps if he could catch her before she left, he could hide in the trunk.
Warum?
Kyle could make noises as she drove. He could follow her around on her errand, knocking over small objects nearby. Gabby put the car in reverse and floored the accelerator.
Okay.
Invisible to all senses, Kyle was crushed underneath the back tires of the car, creating a large boom.
Oh.
Gabby figured she'd hit the curb. She put the car into forward and floored the accelerator again. Kyle became locked in an endless loop of Gabby trying to move her car out of her parking space, being run over repeatedly. As the day started to wane and it drew closer to the time of Rachel's interview, Kyle ceased to be a ghost, per normal.
Per normal. Ganz normal halt.
Gabby neither noticed nor stopped.
Oh.
Kyle was forced to conduct Rachel's interview while being run over.
Was?
Kyle's crew moved the filming set next to Gabby's apartment. Rachel appeared. Kyle asked her many questions. They shared several laughs. The interview was successful.
Während die ganze Zeit überfahren wird. Und das nackt.
The sound of Gabby flooring her car's accelerator drowned out large sections of the episode.
Kyle haunted Gabby. Okay. Open closet. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided.
A slick suit für den Geist. Haunt around.
Kyle decided.
Spook the interview.
Kyle thought that it would be best. Today, he would still go to his studio, but instead of conducting an interview, he would haunt.
Und ein Interview.
Excitedly, Kyle made his way to the studio early to find the best spot to conduct his ghostly duties. The studio was empty. Being so early, the crew wouldn't arrive for several hours. Kyle gleefully skipped around the building, finding the best spot for himself to hide. After searching for some time, Kyle decided to hide behind the guest chair. Kyle quickly placed himself
Kreativ.
down and drew
Gut
his
gemacht,
legs
Kyle.
to his chest. Soon, the crew began to arrive and set up for the interview that night. Invisible to all senses, Kyle went undetected. He watched as cameras were set up, screens were turned on, and pages were flipped. Within an hour, Rachel walked into the studio. "Hey, everyone," said Rachel, smiling kindly. "I'm ready to get prepped. Who do I need to talk to first?"
Talk to me.
Kyle's producer approached her. "Thanks for being here, Rachel. You should really talk to Andrea about makeup first, and then wait for when Kyle arrives." Kyle, knowing he was duping everyone, began to giggle uncontrollably. It was then that he, like clockwork, ceased to be a ghost. The studio grew silent. Everyone stared at Kyle, head down, clutching his legs and giggling at the floor. Kyle froze. He had found himself in a situation he had not encountered before. Kyle started to crawl out of the studio on all fours, hoping his small form would avoid attracting more attention.
Was?
Everyone wordlessly watched as Kyle slowly made his way across the stage, through the production set, and out the door.
Oh Gott.
As soon as he was outside the studio, Kyle broke into an all-out sprint.
Das tut weh.
Kyle made his way back to his apartment as quickly as possible. Kyle sat in his kitchen and processed what had happened during his day. He vowed that he would never haunt anything again.
Carl left. Oh, peinlich.
Kyle,
Wither away. Ja, erstmal anziehen hier.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the
Skunk Pasties. Ja, nehmen wir das. Mir fällt auch gerade auf, dass ich das mit der Laser Claimer noch gar nicht gemacht habe. Red
Kyle
Notes.
wrote down.
Der schreibt nur 4 Notes und braucht dafür 4 Stunden. Was wollte ich nochmal machen? Ich hab's vergessen. Okay, ich mach das jetzt einfach mit der Laser Claymore. Check locked
Kyle
door.
walked over to the strange.
Look through his ghost. Get Laser Claymore. Perfekt. Turn to bedroom. Da.
Kyle knelt down and inspected the old, rusty container that had been in his closet for ages. It was locked, but had a blade-shaped slot in the top.
Insert Laser Claymore.
Kyle took the laser claymore in his hand and slid it into the hole on top of the box.
Trinken nicht vergessen.
The box began to rumble slowly, but then it shook harder and harder.
Okay.
Suddenly, with a snap, the box lid came loose.
Alles klar.
Kyle, giddy with excitement, grabbed the box to drag it into the light. With much sweating and pulling, Kyle slowly inched the box out of his closet. He began to giggle and drool.
Hat angefangen zu sabbern.
Soon, the box had been transported into the middle of the room.
Okay, und was ist da drin?
Kyle clapped his hands together and gripped the lid on either side. With a tug, it tumbled to the floor, revealing the contents of the box.
Oh.
There was nothing inside.
Oh.
Kyle was incredibly disappointed. This had been an opportunity for him, a way to find something new, a way to break up the routine.
Ich bin auch
Suddenly,
enttäuscht.
Kyle was struck with an unquenchable feeling of boredom about his life.
Ist ja nur der Nummer 1 Talkshow-Host.
Kyle jumped to his feet and burst outside, hungry to find anything that could give his day a feeling of interest. Painfully, Kyle started grabbing anything he could reach, smashing it into his face to see what it could possibly do for him.
Warum?
Rocks, benches, people,
People.
squirrels, and the ground itself fell into
Eichhörnchen.
Kyle's grasp. But soon, his energy began to wane.
Was?
Slowly, sadly, Kyle made his way back to his apartment, quietly grabbing small items off the ground and rubbing them against himself.
Das muss auch ein Anblick sein. Da ist ein nackter Geist mit einem Schwert. Der kleine Gegenstände an sich reibt.
Kyle slowly sank into his bed, as bored as when he had left earlier that day. He looked at the ceiling, feeling hollow. The day had been very hard. As he slowly fell asleep, Kyle wondered what he could possibly do tomorrow to inspire a new sense of interest in his life. He didn't know it then, but tomorrow, Kyle would try something new.
Kyle was bored. Unlocked Kyle's hot dog. Ist das? Ja, hier.
Kyle woke.
Change jobs.
Kyle thought very carefully about the first move of his day.
The first move of his day. Ganz gewöhnlicher first move of his day. Kennt man.
Kyle laid in bed for a moment, thinking about the day ahead. He would produce another episode of his long-running show. Yes. Kyle thought about making breakfast, the same breakfast he'd been making for the past 9 years. Kyle thought about the clothes he would wear. They had not changed for a long time.
Ah, ich habe schon zwischen den 4 hin und her
Kyle waited for
gewechselt.
something new and interesting to
Einigermaßen.
enter his head. Something fresh, something exciting. Kyle continued to wait. Nothing came to mind. In a sudden moment of inspiration, Kyle threw his covers to the ground and stepped out of bed. Kyle had made a decision. Today would not be part of an old journey. Today would be the start of something new.
Und zwar Hotdog.
Kyle walked over to his desk and opened the middle drawer. He slowly removed an ancient, withered stick of meat.
Willst du mal meinen Withered Stick of Meat sehen?
Today, Kyle planned to make good on his childhood passion, the career he had abandoned to become a talk show host. Kyle looked caringly at the crusty hot dog in his hands. Then he smiled. Then he bent his lips downwards and slowly sucked the hot dog into his mouth and down into his stomach.
Natürlich hat er das gemacht.
Kyle had become a hot dog vendor. He must now prepare for his first day running a hot dog stand.
Okay, deep throated einen Hotdog und dann ist er Hotdog-Verkäufer. Ja, warum eigentlich nicht? Open the closet, sit at desk. Search for hot dogs.
Kyle searched through his desk to find more hot dogs that he could sell. But Kyle had moved his hot dog stash somewhere else. He shut the desk drawers empty-handed.
Moved his hot dog stash somewhere else. Impliziert das nicht, dass der seine Hotdogs mal da drin hatte? Wer bewahrt seine Hotdogs in einem Schreibtisch auf? Sagt Kyle. Sort change.
Kyle's
Small key, ja. Back to room. Scavenge. Scavenge for hot dogs.
Kyle started looking around for hot dogs.
Natürlich hat er
He
das.
crawled around, spreading layers of mold to the side with his hands and picking out interesting items. Kyle couldn't find any hot dogs, but instead he found a pile of love letters he had written in high school. Kyle pocketed the envelopes and got back to his feet.
Alles klar. Okay, Kerl, was kannst du sonst noch so tun? Open closet, choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit.
Hot dog suit.
Kyle put on his hot dog suit, which he had made by stitching hot dogs together when he was a child.
Oh. Es ist einfach nur ein Tuxedo aus Hot Dogs. Ja, gönn dir ein paar Bissen.
Feeling fairly hungry, Kyle bent over and took a large bite out of his suit. He felt refreshed. It wasn't enough. Kyle continued to eat his clothing.
Oh.
Soon, Kyle had eaten most of the suit. The chunks that were left were enough to act as clothes, but barely.
Hat jetzt so einen Leinklauf.
Kyle felt satisfied. The hot dogs had nourished him greatly, functionally giving him more time in his day.
Was? Ja, natürlich. Hotdog. Check lock the door.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
Hotdog magic.
With a hum and a pop, Kyle used his massive knowledge of hot dog magic to change the door handle into a hot dog.
Hilft ihm das?
Kyle sucked the hot dog into his mouth,
Ugh.
opened the door, and walked through.
Warum sagt er dieses Sack so intim? Was? That's for hot dog
Kyle
stand.
started looking around for anything he could use to make a hot dog stand. Kyle rooted around the scattered boxes and loose items. He picked up buckets, pieces of wood, rusty nails, and bits of string. Soon, he had enough loose items to be reasonably sure of being able to craft a stand that wouldn't fall over.
Yay. Check lock door nochmal.
Kyle walked over to the strange door.
Hot dog magic.
Kyle
Supernatural artifact oder laser claymore?
This was one of the many
Grab
Kyle
artifact.
stashed
Get the laser claymore.
expecting about.
Ich habe keine Hot Dogs.
Kyle made his way to the street corner. After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman. Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street.
Unpack love letters.
As Kyle was unpacking, his hand brushed the old love letters he had picked up earlier. He stopped. Something tugged at Kyle's heart. These letters were a piece of himself. These letters were a piece of history. Kyle realized it was time to give these letters to their original intended recipients.
Warum?
Kyle looked at the top letter of the stack. It was addressed to Abigail, a girl Kyle had liked during high school.
Okay, wo finde ich Abigail?
Abigail had moved to the other side of the city with her husband a few years ago, but Kyle was willing to make the trip. Kyle skipped away to Abigail's house, letter in hand. It wasn't that Kyle liked Abigail anymore. It wasn't that he missed her. To Kyle, this was more important than that.
Welches Prinzip verfolgst du
After
gerade?
an hour of walking, Kyle finally reached Abigail's front door. With excitement in his heart, Kyle took a breath and knocked on the door. Abigail opened it.
Okay.
Kyle, she said, smiling. What are you doing here? It's been so long.
Guter Akzent, Narrator.
Abby, said Kyle, I have something I want to read to you.
Nein, lies es nicht vor.
Kyle took the letter to Abigail, clutched in his hands, and opened it for the first time in 14 years. Dear Abby, he read, I feel funny when I look at you.
Ja, vielleicht, dass du das vor 14 Jahren geschrieben hast.
Sometimes I think about you when I lie awake at night, but also sometimes not. But that's less often.
Oh mein Gott.
I also talk about you constantly to everyone when you're not around, but it's not always good things.
Was?
Sometimes I also steal your lunches when you're not looking and keep them in a drawer at my house to look at when I'm bored. I want you to promise me something. Kyle looked at Abby meaningfully. Promise you like me.
Nee. Oh, Kyle.
And if you do like me, please show me by shoving live fish down your throat as a sign of dedication.
Live fish.
Abigail shut the door.
Was?
Kyle looked up from the letter and stopped reading. He looked at the door in front of him. He realized that Abigail probably had something to do, so he decided to leave her the letters to read later.
Was?
Kyle pressed the letters against the door and pushed firmly.
Was bezweckt das, Kyle?
He took a nearby rock and drove it through the papers into the door so Abigail could not miss them.
Hat die Tür beschädigt. Natürlich hat
With
das.
evening dawning, Kyle went home, satisfied that he had finished an old chapter of his life. When Kyle got home, he realized that he loved writing letters to Abigail.
Was?
He decided that he would continue to do so every day and make her his pen pal.
Die hat da so gar keinen Bock drauf.
Kyle fell asleep with a smile. It had been a good day.
Was? Hotdog Endings. Reset the day end.
Kyle started. But as he unpacked, Kyle realized he had not taken the important step of actually acquiring any hot dogs. Kyle knew that in order to continue, he was going to need to visit somewhere close by to try to acquire hot dogs.
Warum geht er nicht einfach in einen Laden? Tech Store, Orphanage oder Abandoned Warehouse? Woher soll ich einen Hotdog bekommen im Tech Store?
Kyle decided that the local tech store would probably have hot dogs.
Ja, klar.
Kyle skipped inside, looking forward to the lovely interaction that was upon the attendant and him. The store walls were lined with electronic gadgets and apparel, important to each citizen's everyday life.
Aber das Wichtigste gibt's hier nicht, nämlich Hotdogs.
Kyle was amused. He loved Techno Gym. He loved the friendly store clerks. This was a comforting place for him to be.
Okay.
Kyle walked straight into the employees' break room and began rummaging around for things to take with him.
Ja, fragt nicht mal.
Within a couple minutes, Kyle had found a healthy stash of wallets and a phone, but no hot dogs. Kyle pushed past the circle of store clerks, shouting and pounding on his back to look inside the employee fridge. Inside, Kyle found several packed lunches, half-eaten subs, and a few bottled drinks, but no hot dogs.
Diese Banausen.
Kyle slid his way
Kulinarische
through the
Banausen.
crowd of employees and law officials and walked outside.
Er geht einfach dran vorbei.
The sun was setting, creating a soft glow of orange in the sky. The birds twittered. Kyle lifted his head high and breathed in deeply. He smiled.
Vor allem, ich habe ja noch diesen verdammten Hotdog-Suit an. Das macht die Situation von vorhin ja noch schlimmer. Und das hier noch dämlicher. Da kommt ein Typ in einem Anzug aus Hotdogs an und liest so einen richtig schlechten Liebesbrief. Was ist das?
Maybe selling hot dogs wasn't what was important. The world was lovely, shining. Kyle felt like he needed to appreciate nature.
Die einzige Natur, die ich wertschätze, ist die Natur von Hotdogs.
Kyle was flattened by the SWAT helicopter that had been called to stop his tech store rampage.
Warum?
Kyle had been properly stopped. Job well done. The SWAT helicopter flew away. Being now completely flat and also washable, Kyle became the first reusable source of printer paper.
Was?
Companies rented Kyle for days and months at a time to help increase printer-related productivity and reduce waste.
Ja.
Kyle single-handedly reduced greenhouse gas production by 56%.
Was?
Eventually, Kyle was replaced with also renewable laser-engraved mold lumps. Humanity flourished.
Kyle became principal. Was? Ich will noch wissen,
Kyle
was...
knew that in order to continue, he was going to need to visit.
Was macht der in einem
Kyle decided that
fucking
it would be best
Waisenhaus?
to go find some hot dogs at the local orphanage.
Natürlich.
To boost their monthly income, the local orphanage ran several fundraisers that gave services to the city.
Hot Dogs sind ein sehr wichtiger Service.
Kyle subscribed to one such service.
Wer wäre?
Volunteers would mash the orphans' toys and dead pets together and distribute the paste from a faucet behind the orphanage.
Was?
Residents of the city could pay a subscription fee to use the faucet for a certain period of time every day. Kyle had become a regular paste subscriber to get cheap food, juice, or glue depending on what he needed.
Das ist ekelhaft.
Kyle walked behind the orphanage and swung open the faucet, hoping today's slurry was suitable to make hot dogs from.
Bestimmt wird's das sein.
For a moment, nothing came out, but then, with a loud burst, the faucet started spewing out orphans.
Was soll ich mit den Waisenkindern?
The orphans had staged an uprising and were escaping through the faucet.
Was?
Finally, free to the world, the orphans rushed forward, crushing Kyle beneath their feet. The orphans knew exactly what their plan was to be. They wasted no time putting it into action. Several orphans quickly constructed a large building. Others called their contacts in the marketing industry.
Woher haben die Kontakte?
Within minutes, the orphans had constructed a large hot dog restaurant. Immediately, denizens of the city began flooding through its doors to buy hot dogs. It was not long before the orphans had completely taken over the local food industry. The reach of the hot dog shop increased. People stopped buying other food. Grocery stores closed.
Grocery Stores kann man nur noch für andere Dinge als Essen gebrauchen. Woher sonst kriege ich mein Wasser? Ich meine, klar, aus dem Spülbecken, aber bei uns das Wasser, das ist nicht trinkbar.
But the
Ganz
orphans
komische
were
Sache.
not finished. They soon expanded their business to all outlets.
Auch Talkshows?
They monopolized insurance, retail, production, art, entertainment, and everything in between.
Ja, auch meine
Stay
Talkshow.
Up Late with Kyle was taken off the air to be replaced with various orphan broadcasts. Soon, everything that Kyle was known for had been replaced with something orphan-related. Nevertheless, Kyle remained famous as the man who released the orphans and was featured in all of the orphan history books. Kyle did not sell any hot dogs.
Oh, stimmt, Hot Dogs. Hab ich fast vergessen. The orphans were prepared.
After Kyle,
Uh,
but Kyle knew that it.
abandoned warehouse.
Kyle jumped into action, knowing time was of the essence. He turned around, briefly surveyed his surroundings, and entered the first door that he saw. Kyle found himself in the middle of a dilapidated warehouse that had not seen any humans for many, many years. The warehouse walls were plastered with a thick layer of grime, sticky from the damp air. But Kyle never saw the grime. All Kyle could see were the rats.
Nein.
Like a bristling ocean, rats covered every surface of the warehouse. Floor, ceiling, walls, and everything in between.
Oh,
Kyle started to grab rats with both hands and shove them into his supply pack.
natürlich. Natürlich macht er aus denen Hot Dogs.
His pack filled quickly. Kyle continued stashing rats into every open crevice.
Keine gute Idee.
Within minutes, his pack was jam-packed with rats. Satisfied, Kyle made his way back outside. Kyle returned to his spot on the street corner. It was around the time work let out for the evening. The street was packed with pedestrians. Kyle began to wordlessly shove rats toward the passers-by close to him. Most avoided eye contact and steered around him. A few looked at the rat in Kyle's hand and frowned. After a few minutes of trying, Kyle became very frustrated. Kyle grabbed a nearby passerby, wrenched open their mouth, and drew a rat close to shove it down their gullet.
Oh God.
But suddenly, Kyle had a realization.
Was?
It was not the rats that were unpleasant to his customers. No, Kyle had forgotten to create a mascot.
Natürlich. Das ist das Problem. Er hat kein Maskottchen.
Hey, you, whispered Kyle to the man gripped in his arm. You're gonna help me.
Was?
Kyle took the bag of rats and dumped it over the man's head. The man was buried in the rats. They clung to his arms and legs, creating a makeshift rat suit that covered every inch of his skin.
Oh Gott.
Immediately, the man began to ravenously shill Kyle's hot dog stand to the public. He waved his arms up and down, yelling for anyone and everyone to come buy a treat.
Was ist das für eine Gedankenkontrolle auf einmal?
But there was a problem. The rats Kyle had intended to sell as hot dogs had already been repurposed. The crowds that had been attracted by the mascot sadly stepped away, knowing they had lost a chance at something wonderful. Eventually, Kyle and the mascot gave up. They returned to Kyle's apartment, heads hung low.
Ich hab den Typen mitgenommen. Hä?
Kyle and the mascot tried several times over the next few months. Before they could get their feet underneath them, however, they were written up by the FDA for extremely, extremely unhygienic marketing.
Ist Hygiene im Marketing wirklich wichtig?
The mascot was sent to jail. Kyle, being without his partner, decided to give up for good. Kyle nor the mascot sold any hot dogs.
Kyle created a mascot. Was?
Kyle thought
Oh ne, warte mal. Es gibt noch etwas, das ich tun muss. The desk, ja, Red Notes.
Kyle
Ganz wichtige Sache. Open Closet, choose an outfit.
decided to take some time to
Dann Pasties, perfekt. Check lock door, force the door with forehead.
Kyle decided it would be best to try to force the door open with use of his face. After smashing his features into solid wood for several minutes, Kyle gained severe short-term amnesia.
Ja, da oben ist es. Perfekt. Ich muss nur noch was essen.
Kyle opened the
Eat the fridge.
Somehow, miraculously, he wrapped his mouth around the device. He started to swallow. In one slow, horrible movement, the fridge slid down Kyle's throat. After many gurgles,
Ekelhaft. Irgendwie extrem lustig. Move to kitchen. In der Küche gibt's nicht so viel zu machen.
sitting as Kyle approached. Good evening. Kyle responded.
Forget her name from Anisha.
Hello. You. Kyle's ears began to ring from his concussion. Rachel looked at Kyle, slightly confused, but continued smiling. Before she noticed the glazed look in Kyle's eyes, the producer approached.
Time to get started.
He said, putting a hand on Kyle's shoulder.
Let's get stationed.
Kyle sat in the nearest chair, which was Rachel's. After a moment, Rachel hesitantly sat in the host chair. A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on.
Start broadcast.
Good morning, everyone, said Kyle. My name is... Kyle made a desperate effort to remember his name, or really anything. Kyle looked at Rachel. Do you know who I am? He asked. Rachel looked back, confused. Who are you? Well, if you're not Kyle, I don't know who you are. Rachel smiled sweetly. Kyle made up his mind that he was probably Kyle.
Ja, das ist definitiv ein Statement.
Well,
Powerful statement.
He said, I'm Kyle. A long silence followed. Eventually, Rachel spoke again. And I'm Rachel. Hi, everyone. She waved. Hi, Rachel, said Kyle. So why are we here? Rachel was visibly worried. Ha ha, funny, she said. Weren't you planning on asking me any questions? I mean,
No.
I don't have any ideas, said Kyle. Kyle
Fragen
kept
werden
staring at
überbewertet.
Rachel. Someone coughed. Kyle looked around and noticed the crew. Who on earth are all of you? He asked. Nobody answered. Kyle got out of his chair and walked off frame, leaving Rachel alone with millions of viewers. Rachel
Ja,
smiled at the
Mann.
camera nervously. Well, she said, let me tell you some knock-knock jokes.
Oh nein.
Eventually, the producer ended the broadcast early due to technical issues.
Weiß. Oh, ich versuche mich gerade zu erinnern. Ich hatte noch ein paar echt schlechte aus TTRPG-Runden, die ich früher mal hatte. Und wie. Ah ja. Klopf, klopf, wer ist da? Feuer. Feuerwehr. Ja, genau die. Comedy
Kyle
God.
woke up in his bed the next day, remembering nothing about what had happened.
I forgot. He forgot. Ist nicht noch irgendwas, was ich mit Kyle machen wollte? Außer der Amnesie? Bestimmt
Kyle
nicht.
thought Kyle laid in bed for a moment. Kyle had become...
Hot Dog Salesman. Wo finde ich Hot Dogs? Move to kitchen.
Kyle
Open
opened the
fridge.
and
Search
then
fridge for hot dogs.
Kyle searched through the fridge. His search turned up nothing. Kyle was not surprised, as he never stored meat in his refrigerator.
Wo behält er sonst denn Fleisch?
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Back the kitchen oder eat the fridge?
Kyle pointed his neck. Somehow,
Okay. Fair. Think about hot dog.
being in the kitchen gave Kyle a massive amount of hot dog-related nostalgia. He stood still, pondering.
Continue thinking about hot
Kyle
dogs.
continued to think about hot dogs.
Continue thinking about hot
Kyle
dogs.
still continued to think.
Continue.
He thought about their flavor. He thought about how different brands tasted different.
Continue.
Kyle thought about hot dog texture and their feeling in his hand.
Weiter.
Kyle was still thinking about hot dogs.
Weiter.
Kyle's skin began to dissolve its
Ugh.
bonds and melt from standing still too long.
Weiter.
He began to spread across the floor, creating small puddles through the kitchen.
Weiter.
Kyle's jaw caved, causing the top of his head to slowly drop backwards and point towards the ceiling.
Weiter.
Kyle sunk lower and lower. His height was soon half of what it was before. Chunks of skin fell to the ground.
Weiter.
Kyle's fingers and legs fell off, dissolving into drops of ooze as they dropped.
Weiter.
Kyle was a large puddle of melted skin with bumps where his main features used to be.
Weiter.
Kyle's atoms had lost all of their bonds. He had turned into nothing more than a meat-based soup.
Stop thinking about hot
Kyle
dogs.
stopped thinking about hot dogs and moved on with his day.
Oh. Okay. Return to bedroom. Use an outfit. Schnell. Hot dog suit.
Kyle put on his hot.
Chew on suit. Nein.
Kyle made after a Kyle's. But as he unpacked, Kyle realized
Ich hab keine Hot
Kyle
Dogs.
knew that in order to continue, he was going.
Gerade.
The warehouse. Kyle
Verraten.
started to grab.
Change jobs.
Kyle laid in bed.
Hot Dogs. Ganz wichtig.
Kyle had been.
Die Leute wollen Hot Dogs. Ich habe jetzt schon was falsch gemacht. Die Leute lieben Hot Dogs. To that desk. Scavenge.
Kyle.
Backlog door. Search for hot dog stand.
Soup.
Leave apartment. Yeah, the marketing agency. Gabby.
A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door. Good morning, neighbor, said Kyle cheerfully.
Tell Gabby about hot dog
Kyle
sales.
expectantly. Gabby, Kyle said, I think I have had a big life change today.
Ich hab meinen Hot Dog Stand auch dabei.
Gabby raised her eyebrows. I'm giving it all up, Gabby. It's time for me to follow my heart. I'm going to sell hot dogs now. Kyle looked into her eyes.
Da wartet wahrscheinlich eine
Gabby looked
Antwort.
over her shoulder, trying to find an escape. Good job, Kyle, she said. Sounds like you better get started on that right away.
Warum will sie nicht mit mir reden?
Kyle realized that Gabby was right and returned back to the street.
Oh. Dann to apartment. Dann to bedroom. In the closet. Ja, Hot Dog Suit.
Kyle put on
Chew on suit.
feeling. Soon, Kyle felt satisfied.
Perfekt. The hallway. Ich bin dumm. Return to bedroom. Sit at desk. Will. Sort change, yeah. Back to room. Hallway. Leave apartment. Marketing agency. Rummage in trash.
Kyle began rummaging around in the trash can, looking for anything interesting.
Was?
After picking through wrappers and cups, Kyle noticed there was a red button stuck to the bottom of the can.
Press.
Kyle eagerly pressed the button. The wall above the trash can started shifting and spinning, eventually revealing a slab of pewter with an indent.
Look at indent.
The slab was thick and old. A plaque was embedded in the top, reading, "The slab embraces only a true weapon."
Okay, dafür brauche ich das Laser Claymore.
Kyle made his... After a... Kyle... But...
Ich hab's versucht, okay, mit den Hot Dogs. Change Jobs. Ich will bei den Hot Dogs bleiben. The desk. Mir das ist Sort of Change. Wie viele Leute geben einem 11 Stunden mehr, glaube ich.
Kyle
Scavenge.
quickly.
Scavenge for Hot Dogs.
He crawled around, spreading. Kyle could.
Ah, stimmt.
Kyle
Hot Dog Suit. Ein bisschen rumknabbern.
soon. Kyle.
Oh ja, wenn ich schon mal hier bin.
With a hump. Kyle
Laser Claymore.
expecting a battle.
Und ein Hot Dog Stand, ja. Leave apartment, visit marketing agency, rummage and trash.
After picking through,
Press button.
Kyle. The slab was
Insert
thick.
Claymore.
Kyle inserted the laser claymore into the indent. The claymore fit perfectly, snapping into place. Small metal hooks came out of all sides of the slab to hold it in place. With a pop,
Oh.
hiss, and a magical elf chuckle, a human-sized rainbow gateway to another dimension appeared. The portal started sucking everything near it inwards, devouring chairs, trash cans, and Kyle himself. Kyle became part of a dizzying swirl. Lights and colors flashed all around him. He spun in circles rapidly.
Hä?
And in a moment, Kyle fell into the Gummy Bear and Claymore land, where all matter is either gummy bears or claymores.
Okay. Ganz gewöhnlicher Ort halt.
Kyle was approached by a group of roaming gummy wasteland elves.
Was?
Because of the harsh environment they lived in, the elves used their kin as blunt weapons to fend off attackers. Kyle looked upon the elves and realized they must live in a depressed and war-torn culture.
Ja, könnte ich mir gut vorstellen. Die Hälfte aller Dinge hier besteht aus Zweihändern.
And then, in a moment of pure empathy, Kyle decided to help the elves. Kyle grabbed the two nearest elves, one in each hand, and started to give them a talking to about war and its troubles.
Ich glaube, die wissen das schon.
Hello, you two, said Kyle. I wish to give you a bit of advice. But before Kyle could say anything more, the ground started shifting and morphed into a gummy bear monster. Kyle chucked the elves he was holding at the monster to fend it off, but it was to no avail.
Okay.
The monster charged at Kyle, throwing elves to the sides as it sped forward. Kyle had no choice but to become a gummy bear monster himself.
Ja, natürlich. Das ist seine einzige Option gerade. Was sonst soll man
He
tun?
started to cover himself in gummy bears and claymores. They stuck to his skin like meaningful, gooey hugs. After moments of a vicious, sticky flurry, Kyle was covered in the new world's material. Then, something wonderful happened. Using a combination of determination, elf magic, and method acting,
Method
Kyle
acting?
truly transformed into a real gummy monster. But in his new form, Kyle was now not interested in fighting the other gummy monster.
Ah ja, jetzt will er selbst natürlich was essen, oder?
Kyle began swallowing every elf in sight in a wild, crazy rampage.
Ja, natürlich.
Over the next several hours, Kyle rampaged around the whole gummy world, eating every last elf whole. Kyle had gifted the elves with a warm, nutritious new world to live in.
Seinen Magen.
Over time, the elves created a new society inside Kyle's stomach. There was no need for war.
Was?
They feasted on Kyle's stomach juices. Their culture entered a golden age. Eventually, Kyle turned back into a normal person and returned home. But the elves continued to live inside him. Kyle had saved a culture.
Kyle ist ein Held. Unlocked Kyle is Santa. Weil er jetzt Elfen hat. Ich brauche ein paar Sekunden, ja. Dieses Spiel ergibt keinen Sinn.
Kyle thought very carefully about the first move of his day.
Ich werde der Weihnachtsmann.
As Kyle started to leave his bed, something stopped him. Maybe it was a smell in the air. Maybe it was the chill from outside. Or maybe it was just pure luck.
Luck.
Kyle had been imbued with the spirit of Christmas.
Im Juli. Juli.
In an instant, Kyle began to hear the dreams and wishes of every child in the world all at once.
Oh, das ist unangenehm.
Kyle's newfound abilities were quite overwhelming. He clutched his head and screamed loudly. The voices did not stop. Kyle curled into a small ball and rocked back and forth. Not to be left alone, Kyle was gifted with a Christmas miracle.
Ja. Die Schmerzen würde ich auch als Wunder bezeichnen. Es ist ein
Small
Weihnachtswunder.
bumps began forming under his skin, pushing outwards.
Oh, natürlich.
Kyle's skin began to stretch and tear, letting loose a small army of elves that had been growing in his stomach. The elves scattered
Was?
around Kyle's apartment, foraging for anything remotely nutritious to feed on. Kyle burst an elf army. He had been chosen to become Santa Claus.
Natürlich. Das ist die logische Reihenfolge der Dinge.
Kyle decided that
Wie
the best
sonst?
course of action was to fulfill his duties as Santa Claus.
Santa.
Kyle stepped out of bed, stray elves falling from various holes in his skin.
Various.
Kyle must now continue his day as Santa Claus.
Was?
Kyle decided to take some
Santa
time.
suit.
Kyle appropriately chose to dress
Yippee.
as Santa, who he was.
He is Santa, yeah. Notes. Create Santa's list.
Kyle knew he must construct his naughty and nice list. He began to think of all of the people in his life. Kyle thought of Gabby.
Oh, Gabby is nice.
Kyle thought of Rachel.
Rachel naughty.
Kyle thought of Techno Jim.
Hector Jim's also nice.
Kyle thought of Kyle.
Kyle verdient sich das.
Kyle ripped his list out of his notebook.
Back to desk. Write notes for interview.
Kyle wrote down his first question.
Was?
Kyle ripped
Was?
a page of...
Hä? Und was soll ich damit? Check locked door, use Christmas magic.
Kyle stretched out his hand, twisting it in its socket around and around. He sang a Christmas tune under his breath.
Okay.
The door swung open, letting Kyle through.
Wo war nochmal die Travel Time
The
Machine?
battle.
Supernatural
This was one
Smash
of-
Artifact.
Kyle began pounding the mystic. An ancient...
Lizard Demon Santa Kyle. Ja.
Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with... As Kyle approached, Rachel smiled.
Was?
Pandemonium ensued. Scripts went flying. As a local force of...
Okay, das ändert
swung
mir
at
schon
him
mal.
with their
Change jobs.
Kyle,
Christmas spirit.
Kyle must... Kyle,
Santa suit. Until interview. The desk.
Kyle thought of Gabby. Kyle... 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 Kyle...
Perfekt. Check in desk drawer. Ah ja, Flashlight.
Kyle grabbed...
Nee, warte mal, verdammt. Braucht das Kleingeld. Ich schaffe es nicht mehr rechtzeitig. Wither away.
Kyle thought... As
Okay, nochmal. Ich werde der Weihnachtsmann.
Kyle decided...
Santa suit. The desk.
Kyle
Dann die
thought of
Liste.
Gabby. Kyle ripped.
Check and desk drawer. Flashlight. Und das Sort Change. Wichtig. To room. Leave apartment. Go on center duties. Ja, mach ich.
Kyle realized it was wise to conduct his duties as Santa.
Spread Christmas cheer.
Kyle knew that one of his duties as Santa must be to spread Christmas cheer.
Ja, go Kyle.
Kyle skipped down the street merrily. As he met others
Im Juni.
walking along the sidewalk, he smiled.
Juli.
Surely they would feel Christmas cheer. After several streets, Kyle stopped skipping.
Niemand hat Bock auf
Nobody had
Weihnachten, es
wished
ist
him a Christmas
Juli.
song. Nobody had wished him a Merry Christmas. Nobody had even smiled.
Oh.
Kyle realized he would need to spread Christmas cheer more aggressively.
Oh nein.
Kyle walked up to a young couple chatting and laughing amongst themselves. He grabbed the woman by the shoulders and shook her lightly.
Okay.
Listen to me!
He screamed,
It's Christmas time!
The couple left quickly. Kyle, not dissuaded, ran into the street, stopping a car with his hands.
It's Christmas! Tell your family I love them!
Kyle shouted, banging his fists on the car hood. Kyle's methods still proved ineffective. He realized that if he were to be a proper Santa, he must not hold back.
Was? Was bedeutet das?
Kyle started slamming his forehead into the car hood repeatedly, flailing his arms in the air.
It is time for presents!
Kyle emphasized each word with percussion from his face. Suddenly, Kyle was blessed with another Christmas miracle.
Ja. Was schaut er mit dem Ninja?
Kyle's neck shot directly upwards, throwing his mouth towards the sky.
Was?
Slowly, painfully, a live reindeer began to emerge from his throat. In fact, it was not one, it was several. Kyle began to run around, arms waving, desperately trying to find a way of dislodging the animals emerging from him. In a sudden, forceful moment, reindeer after reindeer explosively shot out of Kyle's mouth. The stream did not stop there. Every orifice of Kyle's face began shooting wrapped presents of all sizes in every direction.
Also Nase, Ohren, Mund.
Kyle, unaware of what to do, spun in all directions and screamed.
Was?
Like doves, the presents flew far into the air, landing into the laps of the children of the world.
Was?
Within a period of minutes, Kyle had managed to give the world his Santa-ly gifts. Eventually, the present spewing stopped. Kyle fell to the ground.
Was?
He crawled his way back to his apartment and lay down. Kyle did not remember about his interview with Rachel.
Was? How's your day going? Oh, ja, gut. Okay, danach. Was ist dieses Spiel? Ja, ich muss der Weihnachtsmann sein. Der nackte Weihnachtsmann. Go on Santa duties. Give presents to children.
Think of nothing better than to gather children around him and give them presents.
Ja, der nackte Santa.
Supposed it was possible there were children in the nearby park, so he quickly walked over. Upon arriving, Kyle saw several families happily walking around and playing in the snow.
Oh, es gibt doch Schnee.
Kyle called for the families to gather around him. The children bounced over expectantly. Kyle presented the children with a gift.
Gibt nothing. Er kennt gar nichts von mir.
Kyle had not bothered to actually bring anything to give the children. He had nothing to give them. Sorry, kiddos, he said. You're not getting any presents today.
In dem nackten
Kyle
Weihnachtsmann.
let out a long, meaningful laugh.
Aus.
The children looked at Kyle with faces of understanding.
Understanding? Was?
We understand, Santa, one said. It's hard to bring gifts to every child in the world. Instead, we will gift ourselves your soul.
Was?
The child's mouth opened to an uncomfortable size, and his eyes turned pitch black. He began to inhale.
Das Kind ist ein Dämon.
Kyle's soul began to fall from his body and be consumed by the child. But Kyle knew what to do.
Woher weiß Kyle, was machen muss?
Kyle began spewing elves out of his mouth into the soul-rending maw of the child. One by one, the elves disappeared, feeding a small amount of what Kyle's soul could feed.
Ja, sicher. Mach das mal. Oh mein, das Gott intens, ja. Dieses Spiel ist wahnsinnig.
After many hours, Kyle had stuffed the child completely full of elves. There was no more room for his soul to be taken.
Was?
Kyle hoisted the fat and growing child off the ground and placed him in the arms of his parents.
Okay.
Continue to feed him small animals for the rest of his life so he is too full to move or think, said Kyle. Then the world will be safe. Kyle skipped away gleefully, knowing he had done a wonderful thing for the city.
Hat das?
That evening, Kyle thought back to the events of the day. He remembered that he had brought no gifts for the children.
Ah ja, traurig, die Kinder haben
Kyle
keine
realized
Geschenke.
that he had gifted the children something. He had given them safety. He had given them a future.
Okay.
Kyle went to sleep grinning. He felt very fulfilled. Kyle had given the best gift ever.
Was?
Kyle thought very
Ja,
as Kyle
ja, ja.
Kyle must now
Das. Okay.
Kyle decided to take
Santa Suit. Also ich muss.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for
Ich brauch dringend Elfen, Bruder. Ich brauch dringend
Kyle winced
Elfen.
as he realized he would probably need to bring some elves along. Kyle grabbed a nearby bed. He started to crawl around, snatching up elves left and right and chucking them inside.
Also einfach so einen Plastikbeutel genommen.
Soon, Kyle's bag was mostly full of elves.
No matter.
Kyle used his elbow to compress the bag's contents so he could fit more elves.
Oh. Oh nein.
After several shoves, the contents of the bag had compressed severely. Kyle continued to gather elves. Soon, Kyle's bag was a solid mass of elf flesh.
Oh. Oh nö. Elf bag.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need.
Gossips.
Kyle, I heard
Exit bedroom to hallway. Go on Santa duties,
Kyle
yeah.
realized it was wise to conduct his duties as Santa.
Release elves upon the wild.
Kyle dumped his bag of elves onto the ground.
Die fleischige
The
Beutel.
elves silently looked around them, stunned by the sudden change of environment.
Die leben noch.
The silence did not last long. The elves began tearing about, screaming Christmas carols and looking for food. Ravenously, they devoured every crumb, piece of trash, and bit of roadkill they could find on Kyle's street. It was not nearly enough to satisfy them. They began to branch out to nearby streets. The elves could not be satiated. They began to swipe food out of the hands of nearby restaurant goers. Like a flood, the elves took over Kyle's city. Houses were broken into, streets were blocked. Within minutes, there wasn't a scrap of food left in the city. Driven by a hunger lust, the elves started gnawing their way through walls, devouring buildings from the top down.
Typical elves. Ja, was man halt so macht als Elf. Was so? Ich. Äh, Was soll ich dazu noch kommentieren?
The government's defense measures were brought in to attempt to stop the wave of elves.
Ja, schafft das.
In a flurry of rage, the elves launched themselves directly towards their enemy.
So ein hypothetisches Launch, da können die sich wirklich aus Kanonen
There was a
rausschießen.
grand clash of bullets and teeth. The elves clamped themselves firmly onto the soldiers. Hunks of metal and bulletproof jackets were torn asunder by the elf mouths.
Ja, stimmt, das ist hier nur kugelsicher und nicht mundsicher.
The army's equipment and weapons were systematically swallowed.
Ja,
There was nothing
Lecker.
left to stop the elves from consuming every last material from the earth.
ich kann mir gut vorstellen, dass einer von der Army noch so vorher gesagt hat, friss das, bevor er auf die geschossen hat.
Nothing except Kyle himself.
Okay,
Kyle planted himself in front of the elf mob menacingly.
was?
The elves launched themselves into the air, flying at Kyle teeth first and screaming Christmas cheer. With cat-like speed, he started grabbing elves out of the air and shoving them into his mouth.
Was?
Kyle swallowed elves at a frightening pace. He grabbed them with both hands from his legs as they tried to climb up. Kyle's stomach began to bulge with elf mass, but he did not slow down.
Also, sind innerhalb von 2,5 Stunden weit gekommen. Am Anfang war es dann einfach ein Spiel. Wo es darum ging, sich auf ein Interview vorzubereiten.
As suddenly as it had started, the flurry of elves ended. Kyle had swallowed them all.
Was?
Kyle became a national icon of Homeland Defense.
Okay.
The world began to refer to Kyle among the great history figures of humanity.
Ja. Lecker.
Kyle was preemptively awarded the next 2 Nobel Peace Prizes. His name became synonymous with safety and joy.
Welcher Name spezifisch? Santa oder Kyle?
Kyle spent the next few days hunched over the toilet, hacking elves out one by one and flushing them into the sewer.
Oh nein.
The elves formed an underground society in the belly of the city, living happily in peace away from humanity.
Okay. Danke,
Kyle
Spiel.
thought very carefully as Kyle started.
Ja, Christmas Spirit. Will den Kindern etwas schenken. Move to kitchen. Make Christmas cookies.
Kyle thought it would be nice to make some Christmas cookies.
Yay!
He opened every drawer and cupboard in his kitchen, trying to decide what he would top his cookies with.
Kyle did alright, I guess. Ja, hat er.
Soon, he had narrowed it down to 4 choices.
Okay, was kommt auf die Weihnachtskekse obendrauf? Sprinkles. Dreck. Silberware. Oder tote Ratten. Hier die Ratten.
Kyle placed one of the dead rats in his sink on each cookie.
Warum hat er tote Ratten in seiner Spüle? Alter, ist Kyle Essen Gold?
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Eat the fridge.
In one slow, horrible movement, the fridge slid down Kyle's throat.
Ein sehr schönes Knacken. Big Pantry? Nee. Leave apartment. Give review. Spread Christmas cheer. Give gifts to Techno Gym.
Kyle grabbed the attendant and shook him. Merry Christmas! Screamed Kyle very intently. The attendant looked very much like he wanted Kyle to stop. Kyle gave one last shake, a jolly smile, and considered the job well done.
Gut gemacht, Kyle. Gut gemacht.
Kyle realized
Give presents.
Kyle, upon,
Hab
Kyle
ich?
presented the children
Nee,
with a
hab ich
gift.
nicht. Ich kann denen die Kekse nicht schenken.
Children, it is time to listen to Santa.
Ich schenke euch Weisheit.
The children leaned in eagerly.
I have lived a long and full life,
Said Kyle.
and seen many things no man could imagine.
Das stimmt. Der erste Teil von dem Satz weiß ich nicht, aber der zweite stimmt.
From the many experiences I've had and people I've met, I feel qualified to give you this piece of wisdom.
Oh Kyle, was ist deine Weisheit?
Kyle coughed into his hand and took a deep breath.
Don't feed your girlfriend sea monkeys on the first date. There may not be a second.
Was ist ein Sea Monkey überhaupt? Aber sonst danke Santa. Danke,
Children
nackter
stared at
Santa.
Kyle blankly. Kyle screamed and began tearing at his
Oh
stomach.
nee.
Elves were on their way out.
Warum?
In a sudden explosion, elves flew out of Kyle's skin, covering the group in hungry, crawling elf flesh.
Oh Gott.
The parents were whipped into a frenzy of frantically pulling elves off their children and themselves. The elves, suddenly free and ravenous, bit at the parents' hands with their teeth and screamed at the top of their lungs.
That's good advice. Ja, ist es.
Kyle, uncomfortable with the situation, decided to leave.
Du kannst nicht einfach gehen.
On his way home, Kyle greeted everyone he passed. It had been a lovely evening.
Wirklich?
Inside his door, he stopped and smiled. Kyle knew he had done something wonderful for the children in his community.
Was? Carl gifted wisdom. Und Elfen.
Kyle,
Ich will Weihnachten, Alter. Scavenge at a desk. Ich hol mir nur ein Outfit. Move to kitchen. Ich mach Kekse.
soon,
Tote Ratten. Ich finde, Gabby sollte das bekommen.
Kyle,
Gabby,
a middle-aged woman. Good morning, neighbor, said Kyle cheerfully.
Ich-
Gabby looked at Kyle expectantly.
ich kann ihr sagen, dass ich Santa geworden bin.
Hey, Gabby!
Said Kyle.
I'm Santa!
He splayed his arms out wide.
Er hat immer so viel Enthusiasmus bei allem, was er macht.
Gabby wordlessly shut the door.
Oh, ist bestimmt nur beschäftigt. Visit tech store. Gift to Techno
Kyle
Gym.
knew that Christmas would not be complete if Techno Jim didn't receive a gift.
Techno Gym verdient es sich.
Kyle walked up to Techno Jim with a large smile. In a moment, Kyle started to compress his
Nein.
stomach. Slowly, a present emerged from his mouth.
Oh,
He grasped the gift with his hand and yanked it out of his body. It was wet with spit.
hm.
Kyle placed the gift at Techno Jim's feet, smiled again, and left the store. Kyle realized it was wise to conduct his duty. Kyle knew.
Purchase Christmas Tier? Nein?
Kyle walked up to a young.
Okay, er hat nur schon.
Kyle started slamming his forehead into the car hood repeatedly, flailing his arms in the air.
Ah, ich liebe die Stelle.
Within a period of minutes,
Ah ja, nee.
eventually, the present spewing stopped. Kyle
Ja, okay.
thought very.
Christmas Spirit. Skip. Start Day. Hätte ich nicht machen sollen. Browse Social Media.
Kyle,
Kann ich Social Media immer noch durchstöbern als Weihnachtsmann? Nein. Okay.
Kyle
Ich muss
decided-
mich anziehen.
Kyle,
Muss Santa sein. Ja, wenn ich zu der Desk. Create Santa's List, ja.
Kyle, Kyle ripped.
Ganz gewöhnlich, write notes.
Kyle,
Are you guilty? Back to room. Ich frage mich, was passiert.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending
Eat crust. Wenn ich da hinkomme zu dem Interview als Weihnachtsmann.
soon he had narrowed it.
Tote Ratten.
Kyle sitting across from it as Kyle approached him.
Approach Rachel.
Good evening, Kyle. Kyle responded.
Dream and spin in circles.
Was interrupted.
Insist.
He began. I'm ready. Rachel blinked.
Ist das
Moment
alles?
after seating, the
Er hat nichts dazu zu sagen, dass ich der Weihnachtsmann.
everyone, said Kyle, looking at the camera.
Ich aber schon.
Stay up late with Kyle.
Explain that you are Santa.
Kyle continued. I am your host, Santa Claus. I am here to bring you Christmas cheer.
Yippee!
Kyle put his notes down and looked at Rachel. Said Rachel, not understanding.
Hey!
It's not something to joke about, Rachel,
Said Kyle.
I take being Santa very seriously.
Ich hab auch schon die Elfenarmee.
And I take you very seriously, Kyle, said Rachel, trying to play along.
Die hat so gar keinen Bock
I
mehr.
am not Kyle,
Said Kyle.
I am Santa
Sad
Claus.
Kyle. Produce present.
In an effort to convince Rachel of his Santa nature, Kyle hacked a present out of his mouth into his hand. Kyle pushed the soggy present into Rachel's lap.
Auf ihren Schoß.
Rachel looked slightly unsettled, but reached her hand to undo the bow on top.
Schön voller Spucke.
Said Kyle, slamming his hand on top of Rachel's. You can't open it until Christmas.
Ist das
Rachel
ein...
decided to play along. I'm sorry, Santa, said Rachel matteredly. Do you happen to have your naughty and nice list with you? I want to know where I stand.
Yeah,
Said Kyle, pulling out his list.
you
Oops.
don't rank well.
Rachel was visibly taken aback.
Oops.
Oh? Said Rachel. Why's that, Kyle?
It's Santa, nicht Kyle.
'Cause you suck.
Kyle made no attempt to try to frame his comment as a joke. He stared at Rachel expression.
Was?
Well, Kyle, said Rachel, being that I am Santa Claus, I'm not sure you have the authority to say that.
Was?
Rachel pulled her own naughty and nice list out of her pocket. Kyle's blood ran cold.
Was?
And you, Kyle, said Rachel, are getting awfully close to switching to the naughty list. She raised a pen menacingly.
Was?
No. Rachel, no, said Kyle. Don't do that! Rachel held her mouth open in a maniacal smile and drew the pen slightly closer to her list.
Das Santa off hätte ich nicht erwartet.
Kyle dived across the stage, nabbing at Rachel's hands to try to steal away either the list or her pen. A fist fight between the two ensued. Blows were given to the face of each with equal gusto. After several minutes of being slightly amused, the producer thought it may be better to end the broadcast.
Several minutes.
As the lights shut off and the studio closed, Kyle and Rachel were still locked in combat, neither backing down. Who between the two was the true Santa was never figured out. But indeed, that night, the true Santa was involved in a fistfight and did not deliver any presents. It was the worst Christmas ever.
Kyle got in a fight. Was?
Good evening.
Ich wollte dir eigentlich nur das Ding zeigen.
Good evening, everyone.
Introduce Rachel?
Tonight,
Nee, wahrscheinlich
I'm
nicht.
very ready, said
Ich will wissen, wie ich Leuten Geschenke gebe.
Kyle. Kyle quickly
Scavenge
crouched
for
down on the floor,
House. Nein, ich will keine Elfen.
For Kyle. Soon, Kyle's back.
That's enough. Ich komme einfach an und bringe ihr Elfen mit, schauen, wie sie reagiert. Exit hallway, move to kitchen. Immer nochmal Kekse.
Kyle thought it would be nice.
Diesmal aber keine toten Ratten.
He had narrowed it down to
Silberware.
4 choices.
Ich wollte schon immer mal eine Gabel essen.
Kyle placed one piece of silverware on each cookie. After attempting to eat the first 2 cookies, Kyle was unable to swallow from the metal stuck in his throat. Kyle clamped both hands around his throat and squeezed, popping the silverware out of his mouth.
Okay.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Eat the fridge. Was denn noch sonst? Aber wo kriege ich Geschenke? Ich brauche Geschenke. Das ist der Textor. Nein. Spread Christmas cheer. Give review of free sample.
Further,
Nee,
Kyle.
brauche ich.
Good evening, Kyle, she said, looking him in the eyes. I've been looking forward to being here.
Natürlich geht das. Ja.
Before Rachel had completely finished her sentence, Kyle took his bag of elves and dumped them on her. The elves grabbed onto Rachel with a deathly, unshakable grip.
Holt sie euch.
Kyle, what on earth? Cried Rachel. She leapt up from her chair and tried to bat the elves off of her.
Holt sie euch,
Rachel,
Jungs.
said Kyle, are your newest and bestest friends. You must take good care of them. The elves looked Rachel in the eyes and smiled endearingly.
Was?
Unknown to anyone previously, Rachel had terrible allergic reactions to elf dander.
Ist allergisch gegen Elfen.
Within moments,
Was?
Rachel's whole body turned bright red and began to puff.
Was?
This reaction was not like a normal reaction. The very foundational composition of Rachel's person began to change. Rachel started to sprout limbs from her legs and forehead. Her fingers grew extra eyes.
Was?
As Rachel continued to mutate, it became obvious to the onlookers what was happening.
Obvious? Was ist das für eine Allergie?
Rachel was transforming into the pure embodiment of Christmas.
Was?
Kyle realized that if he was going to keep his job as Santa, this would have to be nipped in the bud. Kyle
Natürlich.
started to pull elves off of the growing Rachel.
Wir müssen sie aufhalten.
Instead of slowing the growing process, this seemed to give Rachel's body more space to develop new limbs and ears.
Ah.
After pulling off a few more elves, Kyle threw up his hands in frustration and gave up. He walked out of the building. Rachel continued to grow, becoming a shapeless mass of teeth, shoulders, and fat. The elves were slowly enveloped. After the initial shock wore off, the surrounding community began to appreciate Rachel's new form. Over the years, she became an icon of local Christmas tradition, acting as a centerpiece for decoration and celebrations. Rachel truly became the embodiment of Christmas. Kyle, still Santa, remained very jealous.
Was?
Kyle thought very carefully about the first move of
Embrace the
his day.
Christmas spirit.
As Kyle,
Ja. Zu der Desk. Ich muss Rachel auf gut packen.
Kyle
Jeder ist nice. Alle hier sind gut. Jeder ist brav. Oh. Oh. Ich nehme die Carnival Music. Ich habe noch gar keine Kleidung an. Choose an outfit. Natürlich den Santa Suit. Of the kitchen. Christmas cookies.
He opened every. Soon, he had narrowed it down to 4.
Dreck.
Kyle sprinkled a small amount of dirt on each cookie. They were iffy.
Das zählt trotzdem als gutes Essen. Open the
Kyle
fridge.
opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Eat the fridge. So ein grausames Geräusch.
Sitting across from his host, Kyle responded.
Ah ja, scream and spin in circles.
interrupted by-
Insist.
I'm Rachel. A moment after
Ich
seating,
hab-
the studio. Good
Ah ja,
evening,
explain
everyone.
that you are Santa.
Kyle continued. Kyle put. And.
I am not Kyle.
Said Kyle.
Produce present.
Rachel looked slightly. Rachel, I'm sorry, Santa, said Rachel matteredly.
Ja.
Yeah, I do,
Said Kyle, pulling out his list.
you're on the nice list.
Well, thank you, Santa, said Rachel. What a nice surprise.
Nice.
Kyle was suspicious.
Is it a surprise?
He asked, raising his eyebrows.
Oh.
Rachel coughed. Of course it isn't. I'm nice. Always on the nice list.
Warum überrascht dich das, Rachel?
So if that's the case, I want to try something,
Said Kyle.
So, if I put you on the naughty list, will you turn into a bad person? Like, can I control your morality?
Nein.
Before Rachel could answer, Kyle crossed her off of the nice list and added her name to the naughty list.
Funktioniert das so?
Immediately, something changed.
Was?
Rachel jumped out of her seat in a blind rage and began trashing the studio, laughing horribly.
Oh Gott.
Kyle, suddenly curious, began adding other names of people he knew to the naughty list.
Was?
Friends, family, and acquaintances of Kyle began bursting through the walls, ceiling, and floor, fire in their eyes. It did not take long for the studio to fall into complete ruins. Kyle was fascinated by the results of his actions.
Bin ich aber irgendwie gerade auch.
Kyle wrote a dissertation on the effects of Santa on adults and was published in many psych journals. As research branched off of Kyle's findings, Kyle began to be known as much for his scientific findings as his talk show.
Oh wow.
Somehow, Kyle had become extra famous.
Kyle is even more famous. Er was extra famous. Ein neuer Hintergrund. Ja. Danke, Spiel. Das sieht schon so viel besser aus. Weil ich habe erst 30 von 117 Endings. Kyle wasn't helpful. Ach, vielleicht kann ich in den Textstore gehen und die können dann mein Handy reparieren.
Kyle woke up.
Das ist sehr viel netter als der andere Hintergrund. Exit Bed, Open Closet.
Kyle decided to take
Skunk Pasties, lecker. Also, New Apartment. Kyle really is something, ja. Er ist viele Dinge, unter anderem auch Santa. Und ein Hotdog-Verkäufer. Was mache ich hier? Das habe ich doch schon probiert. Sonst muss ich tun.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the
Nee. Move the bedroom. Again, desk drawer. Bottle change.
Kyle.
Okay. Give apartment text store. By batteries.
Kyle count.
Oh nee, das wird's irgendwie nicht.
Kyle sitting and I
Okay.
a moment
Ich habe
after
keine Notes
Good
bereit.
evening, everyone, said Kyle.
Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing
Wie
the
kaum.
lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction,
Ich habe keine Notes, jetzt will ich bekommen, Major Ray.
said Kyle, suddenly dropping his voice.
Rachel May. She is,
Ah ja.
in fact,
Rachel looked at Kyle. Kyle stood up quickly.
I have never been, Kyle!
Kyle looked and pointed directly at the... Kyle sat down and... It was then that Kyle remembered that he had not bothered to prepare any notes for the interview.
Mal sehen.
Realizing he did not know how to handle this situation, Kyle began sweating profusely.
Okay.
Firstly, he said,
Is your name Kyle?
"No!" Kyle slammed his fist down repeatedly. Then he stopped talking. A thick, uncomfortable silence hung over the studio. The silence did not end. The cameras continued to roll. Nobody moved or spoke. Eventually, Rachel got out of her chair and walked off screen. One by one, members of the crew followed suit.
Was?
Eventually, Kyle was left alone in the studio, camera still running, silently sitting in frame. This episode of Stay Up Late with Kyle became the longest episode in television history. Kyle continued to sit in front of the camera all night and into the morning, wishing it would end. As evening fell again, the crew shuffled back in one by one, getting in places to film that day's episode. Kyle continued to sit motionless, cameras rolling, as the crew chatted about their days and got in position. Eventually, the crew officially started the next episode. Kyle was prompted to introduce himself again.
Hat das gemacht?
Kyle had produced an incredibly artistic episode.
Oh, Kyle was artistic. Artistic. Ich weiß nicht, ob da jetzt die Aussprache gelungen ist. Also approach
Kyle
Rachel.
responded.
Ja, bla bla bla.
Tonight, Kyle... In response,
Oh.
Kyle collapsed on the floor. From a
Ups.
combat... Nobody...
Ups. Ja gut. War jetzt nicht ganz so gut.
Kyle... dis-
Skunk Paces.
Kyle...
Da fühlt man sich doch wohl dran. Move to the kitchen. Open fridge.
Kyle opened the...
Prepare
Kyle
breakfast.
constructed a breakfast. Kyle smashed his breakfast to a pulp using both fists.
Ich konnte nicht anders.
Kyle wanted to act...
Oh nein. Jetzt muss ich was zu essen finden. Return to bedroom,
Kyle
scavenge.
quickly crouched down on the floor.
Bugs.
Soon,
Ja, essen.
Kyle...
Oh, lecker. Okay, was kann ich noch machen?
Kyle... A middle-aged woman named Gabby and... Good
Okay, Gabby.
morning, neighbor, said Kyle
Was
cheerfully.
hältst du von Rachel?
Gabby, Kyle asked, what are your true thoughts about Rachel May? Oh, Rachel? Gabby said. She's a wonderful woman. Her generous acts have inspired more good work than bad.
Oh,
Gabby trailed off, not meeting Kyle's eyes. After several uncomfortable minutes of silence, Kyle turned around and left.
oh, okay.
Good. Kyle responded. Good evening, everyone. Kyle...
Ah ja, die ganzen Insekten.
Well... In a shock, Kyle realized he had never bothered to prepare any notes for the interview. Knowing he had the eyes of millions upon him, Kyle came up with a solution quickly.
Play dead. Ja, du solltest
Kyle
tun.
slumped in his seat and played dead. Kyle, what are you up to? Asked Rachel, still smiling. Kyle did not respond and hoped nobody would ask questions.
Er ist
Kyle,
tot.
why are you pretending to be dead? Asked Rachel. I can see you breathing. Kyle held his breath. The producer whispered to Rachel over her earpiece. Give a couple slaps across the face and see if he wakes up. Rachel got up from her chair, walked to Kyle, and slapped him firmly across the face.
Der Producer ist das einfach schon gewohnt.
Rachel slapped Kyle continuously, trying to get him to stop play acting. Other members of the crew stepped into frame to start slapping Kyle as well. Soon, Kyle was lost in the amassment of people around him, all slapping his face with both hands. The slapping went on for many hours. Kyle did not wake up. Eventually, Kyle did not need to pretend to be unconscious.
Prepared by dying.
And I...
Okay. Du sehen, was das andere Zeug ist.
In a shock.
Okay,
Knowing he had the eyes
run
of millions upon him,
away.
Kyle came up with a solution.
Run
Kyle
away.
ejected from his seat and ran out of the studio as quickly as possible. After it became apparent that Kyle was not coming back, the producer ended the episode and everyone went home.
Okay. Ja, prepared by running away. Was man halt so macht.
As Kyle responded.
Answer politely, ja. Da Ausnahme.
Tonight. In a... Knowing he had...
Blame Rachel.
Rachel, I need to be honest. You're not terribly interesting, and I could not think of what I should ask you.
In fact, continued Kyle,
I would far rather interview a fish than I would you.
And furthermore, said Kyle, I'm not sure I could tell the difference between a you and a fish. Kyle leaned back in his chair and desperately hoped the blame had been shifted adequately. Rachel glowered at Kyle. Kyle glowered back. Rachel left the studio. Kyle no longer had a guest and spent the next 42 minutes staring at the camera silently.
42 Minuten. Okay. Ich weiß aber auch so langsam nicht mehr, was ich noch tun soll. Und ich habe erst ein Drittel von dem ganzen Spiel überhaupt gespielt.
Kyle knelt down and inspected the old, rusty container that had been in his closet.
Das schaue ich mir dann gleich nochmal an, ja.
Kyle
Hab jetzt schon wieder vergessen, was da drin ist. Exit, check, lock door, float the risk ghost. Get laser claymore. Okay, return to bedroom. Und
Kyle knelt.
insert laser
Kyle
claymore.
took the box began. Suddenly, with a snap.
Ah, das, ja.
Soon, the box had been.
Genau. Away, change jobs. Was kann ich hier denn noch alles machen? Bedroom to hallway. Nee. Also
Kyle
scavenge.
quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for.
Es muss eine Möglichkeit geben,
Kyle firmly.
Gabby und Rachel dazu zu bringen, dass sie gegeneinander kämpfen. Irgendwie muss es möglich sein. Ich weiß nur noch nicht wie. Visit downstairs
A
neighbor.
middle-aged woman named Gabby and. Good morning, neighbor, said Kyle.
Ask
cheerfully.
Gabby
Gabby
about
looked
being a
at Kyle
vigilante.
Gabby asked Kyle, "Are you?" For a moment, Gabby looked stunned, but then she realized his seriousness. Gabby nodded once. The door shut in Kyle's face.
Das alles. At the street, at the apartment. Ja, komm. Oh.
Kyle wait.
Oh, I was left all alone. Von 20. Das Interview. Around Town ist auch noch nicht voll. Was auch immer das hier ist. Around Town Hotdog habe ich auch erst 2. Forgot the Hot Dogs. Es gibt noch ein Ende dafür, die Hot Dogs zu vergessen. Vor allem das hier ist auch Hotdog. How was Santa? Santa Duties. Was es hier noch gibt. Das hier ist auf einmal was ganz anderes. Absolut keine Ahnung, wie ich da hinkomme. Aber irgendwie will ich es wissen. I pretended to die. That's the food. Kyle talked about Gabby.
Kyle woke up.
Ein Run noch.
Kyle thought very.
Become Hotdog.
Kyle laid in bed for a moment.
Also open closet.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose.
Hotdog suit.
Kyle put on his
Chew on suit. Lecker. Scavenge. Sit at desk. Ah. Ich glaube, ich verstehe. Alles klar. Sort change. Eine. Oh nee.
Kyle,
Ich verstehe doch nicht. Back to room. Check locked
Kyle
door.
walked over to the strange door.
Nee, das ist es nicht.
Kyle walked
Okay,
over
ich
to
mach's trotzdem.
With-
Laser Claymore, Hotdog Stand, ja. Wo? Ah ja, check
Kyle
pantry.
wanted to. The pantry door.
Look in
Instead of
pantry.
an assortment,
Grab hot dogs.
Kyle searched around. After a few minutes of searching,
Ja.
Kyle found several stashes of old hot dogs loose and in paper bags. He gathered them together and saw that he had a serviceable amount of hot dogs.
Perfekt.
Kyle made his way to the street corner.
Ich weiß
After a
endlich, wo
long
ich
day of
Hotdogs
preparation,
herbekomme.
Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman.
Ja, ich habe sogar was gegessen.
Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street. Kyle took out his cart pieces and began to assemble them. With a little trouble, Kyle was able to finish constructing a serviceable hot dog stand.
Was bedeutet das? Ich muss es herausfinden.
Kyle started to tear chunks out of the stand he had just constructed and shove them into his mouth.
Natürlich. Natürlich tut er das.
Within moments, the stand had lost most of its structural stability and collapsed into a pile on the ground.
Ich hab meinen Stand gegessen. Ohne die
Kyle did not
Hotdogs.
stop. He took no enjoyment from eating his hot dog stand, but knew he must continue.
Warum muss er weitermachen?
A small
Was?
crowd formed around Kyle. Kyle stopped eating. He slowly craned his neck to look at the people circled around him.
Reconstruct.
Wordlessly, Kyle reached into his mouth and down his throat. Keeping eye contact with the crowd, he grabbed the topmost chunk of stand and drew it upwards.
Fingerkontakt. Will seine Dominanz ausdrücken?
The atmosphere of wariness became potent. Kyle started to pull chunks out of his stomach very quickly. He threw them into a pile on the ground. As the crowd watched, terrified, Kyle began sticking the pieces of the stand together with his stomach juices.
Kyle is kinda outrageous. Kinda. Nur ein bisschen.
Soon, Kyle had recreated his hot dog stand.
Was?
But Kyle realized that his stand was only step one. With an audience around him, he must start selling his hot dogs. Kyle skipped behind his new stand, took out several old hot dogs from his pack, and laid them on the table.
Okay.
Nobody moved.
Ich würde mich in dem Moment auch nicht bewegen. Da ist so ein Fight-or-Flight-Response und in dem Moment ist es einfach nur Freeze.
The hot dogs began spinning violently on the table and spitting flame.
Was?
Kyle's stomach juices had acted as a catalyst to a festering chemical reaction inside of the food, making them unstable. One by one, the hot dogs started to balloon, doubling and tripling in size every second.
Was?
Kyle tried to contain the hot dogs by smashing them with his fists. On contact, the hot dogs exploded with massive force, throwing the crowd backwards across the road. Dripping with hot dog pulp, Kyle made a realization about himself. For him, it wasn't about the hot dogs. It wasn't about the customers. It was about the adventure.
Welches Abenteuer?
Kyle left the ruins of his hot dog stand with a new purpose. He would follow the heart of adventure and not look back. The next day, Kyle embarked on a journey to the jungle to find a healthy amount of adventure. By the time he arrived, Kyle forgot why he had come. After a moment of milling, he decided to buy a return ticket home.
Natürlich. Kyle adventured.
With a little trouble, Kyle was able
Eat. So,
Kyle
vorhin habe ich
stopped
Reconstruct
eating. He
genommen.
slowly craned-
Kill Hot Dogs.
Kyle knew he needed to impress the people gathered around him in order to sell hot dogs. Kyle forced a smile on his face and looked at his nearest to-be customer. Kyle's eyes were blank and without mirth. Kyle had chosen to grin at Tyler Rough and Gruff McPherson, which was a mistake.
Was?
Tyler screamed to the heavens in an unbridled rage, raised both fists into the air, and slammed Kyle's face into the concrete.
Ach komm schon, das hat er nicht
Tyler
verdient.
began
Irgendwie.
curb-stomping Kyle with alternating feet, screaming endlessly. Kyle was confused.
Ja.
Something was familiar about this situation, like a whisper of a dream coming back after being hidden for many years.
Was?
Still screaming, Tyler scooped Kyle into his mouth and swallowed him whole.
Natürlich. Der Bohr ist ganz wichtig.
That's when Kyle remembered. Kyle was brought back to his time as a child.
Was?
He spent his childhood in the yard finding sticks. He didn't eat. He had no family.
Was? Didn't eat, he had no family.
Or did he have a family? Was there a kind mother behind him? A father coming home soon? A brother? A sister?
Was?
No, there was not. But there was Tyler.
Was?
Tyler had started as a bump on Kyle's hand. Kyle had thought it was a bug bite or small irritation. Over time, the bump grew in size. Soon, it sprouted teeth. Kyle nurtured the bump by feeding it sticks. It continued to grow and become ever more hungry. But one day, Kyle noticed that the bump had changed. The hungry bump had turned into a large, hairy, loud man who was also hungry. The man burst from Kyle's arm and ran off into the distance, never to be seen again.
Kyle hat Terraria erschaffen. Und falls jemand hier Terraria nicht kennt, kann ich das Video von Salmonella Academy dazu sehr empfehlen. Der Terraria war echt merkwürdig.
Not until today. Kyle, now in Tyler's stomach, realized that he would have a hard time selling hot dogs if he could not move on his own.
Was?
Kyle
Ja,
stretched out,
das
inserting his
stimmt.
arms and feet into the inside of Tyler's limbs.
Ah,
Kyle began to move Tyler around, grasping at hot dogs on the table and throwing them toward Kyle's customers. Tyler was annoyed and started swinging his arms wildly and running in circles. Kyle and Tyler fought for control over Tyler's motor functions. Hot dogs were sent flying, trash cans sprayed along the sidewalk.
ah,
After many, many hours of fighting, Kyle and Tyler calmed down. They sat down on the sidewalk. Kyle explained his feelings to Tyler. Kyle used Tyler's mouth to respond. As the two talked, they realized their mutual love of business, sociology, politics.
what?
Kyle and Tyler decided to go into business together. The next day was the start of a hot dog empire. Kyle and Tyler, working as a single unit, became the foremost hot dog salespeople in the nation. Their success knew no bounds. Within months, Kyle had blasted past the popularity of his old talk show. Kyle and Tyler remained good friends and were never seen apart from each other. Mostly because Kyle never managed to crawl his way back to the real world.
Was? Okay.
Kyle, with a
Okay.
little trouble,
Continue.
Kyle then started to place the hot dogs he had brought into the cart. They were cold, but Kyle had never cooked his hot dogs as a child and didn't want to start now. His prep finished, Kyle looked around and smiled, waiting for his first customer. It was
Yay.
then that Kyle realized he had not bothered to acquire any advertisement for his cart.
Brauche ich Advertisement?
If the hot dog stand would be a success, Kyle realized he would need to advertise all on his own. Kyle thought about his advertising options.
Personal Engagement, Screaming oder Luck. Wir wissen, was das macht.
Without hesitation, Kyle craned his neck towards the sky and let loose a blood-curdling scream like none other. Everyone around Kyle stopped to look at him, unhappy with the noise. Kyle's scream continued and became more and more distasteful. Soon, there was not a person in his city that was not unhappy with Kyle's screaming. Kyle continued to scream throughout the night and into the next day.
Was hat der für Lungen?
People began to stop next to Kyle, foregoing work to stand and frown. The reach of his scream began to spread, reaching nearby cities, then states, then countries. The world grew a distaste for Kyle's screaming. Families spent their evenings frowning. Nobody was terribly happy. A petition to move humanity away from Kyle's screaming was created. Everyone signed it.
Humanity away. Statt dass die einfach Kyle dazu bewegen aufzuhören.
All of the nations of the world put their minds together and created a shuttle for humanity to leave Earth. Within a day, the human race had left on a trip to a new planet, away from the sound of Kyle's screams.
Das Geräusch erreicht die, oder?
Kyle continued to scream for many years, hoping someone would buy a hot dog so he could stop. But there was nobody left to buy any hot dogs. Kyle was all alone.
Oh, Kyle was alone. Nein. Ich habe kein
Kyle
Advertisement.
thought about his advertising options.
Luck.
Kyle figured that he would just get lucky and everything would work out okay.
Everyone signed it. The one thing we all agree on. Kyle hat den Weltfrieden erreicht. Dadurch, dass alle ihn hassen hier. Wo ist dann Ukraine? Wen juckt's? Kyle ist hier das viel schlimmere Problem. Everything would work out okay, yeah.
As people passed by, Kyle looked at them intently and grinned. Few noticed him. Those that noticed didn't stop. Soon, Kyle realized that in order to sell hot dogs, he needed to become more lucky. Kyle picked up his things and walked over to the local leprechaun pit.
Was? The entire population left the planet to escape Kyle. That's intense. Die hätten den auch einfach wegmachen können, aber nee.
Leprechauns began crawling out of the depths and circled around Kyle.
Was?
A single elder leprechaun stepped forward, twirling his beard with one finger.
Der Teufel, bist das du?
What seeketh this man from the council of the leprechauns and disturb us from our slumber? Asked the leprechaun. Kyle spoke confidently. I want to sell hot dogs. The leprechaun smiled and began stroking his chin. Oh, yes, I understand. The leprechaun turned around.
Versteht er das wirklich?
We can give you what you search for, said the leprechaun, but be aware it will not come easily. Kyle paused, thinking about the offer.
Oh mein Gott. Ich würde da gleich nochmal hingehen müssen.
The
Except.
leprechauns jumped onto Kyle's face and started force-feeding themselves to him.
Natürlich. Wir hatten schon eine Weile kein War mehr, also.
Kyle's
Gehört
eyes
halt
bugged
dazu.
out, and he started swirling around and waving his hands, but the leprechauns did not stop. Soon, Kyle had been force-fed every leprechaun in the pit. Kyle realized the leprechauns must have imbued him with their luck. Kyle rushed back to his stand, excited to try his new luck on hot dog sale. Kyle stood behind his hot dog cart and smiled. In fact, though, the leprechauns had been wrong. They had not imbued Kyle with their luck. Kyle had swallowed them needlessly. Kyle did not sell any hot dogs at his stand. Over the next couple weeks, Kyle hacked up leprechauns into the toilet every morning.
Kyle ate the leprechauns. Okay.
With a little trouble,
Continue.
Kyle thought about his
Luck. Weiter. Schön zum Leprechaun Pit.
What? Kyle paused.
Decline.
The leprechauns looked at Kyle, tears in their eyes.
Oh nein. Es tut mir
The
leid.
leprechaun turned back to Kyle sadly. Is our leprechaun magic not pleasing to you?
Nein, es tut
Kyle
mir
did not know what to
leid.
say. He stared blankly forward, saddened to cause disappointment.
Ich meine, die haben tatsächlich nichts gemacht, aber oh
The
nö.
leprechauns looked devastated. They hung their heads and slowly crawled back into their pit.
Oh nein.
Kyle was silent. He shuffled his feet awkwardly. Then, in a moment of pure empathy, Kyle flung himself into the leprechaun pit. Kyle
Was?
landed on top of the leprechauns, immediately squishing them all.
Hä?
Within a few short moments, Kyle had destroyed years of Irish history and legend.
Wo sind wir? In welchem Land? He has eaten elves and leprechauns. He's kind of so much stuff, this maniac. Ich versuch's.
Kyle realized
Klappt
what
noch
had happened.
nicht.
He sheepishly crawled out of the pit and back to his apartment.
Er hat die Leprechauns getötet.
He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. After several hours, Kyle decided to never try to change his career again.
Kyle destroyed culture. Okay. Ein Dingens gab's noch.
Kyle thought about his advertising.
Personal engagement.
Kyle could not think of a better marketing strategy than good old-fashioned personal connection.
Ja.
Kyle waited for a pedestrian to walk by. Soon, a young couple walked towards him, holding hands and laughing with each other. Kyle grabbed the young man's hand from the woman, drew him close, and looked into his eyes pleadingly.
Er hat die Hand genommen, die gehalten wird, statt dass er einfach die andere nimmt.
Hey you, Kyle whispered. There's something I need you to do for me.
Oh. Und das sagt er, während er die Hand von einem hält.
Kyle drew the man's hand from in front of his face and down to rest on the pile of hot dogs on his cart. He patted the top of the man's hand.
Das fühlt sich an wie Sexual Harassment. Aber irgendwie ist es das nicht. Ich meine, wenn ich sagen würde, so der Typ hat die Hand von jemandem genommen und hat sie auf sein Brüstchen gelegt, das hört sich nicht gut an.
There was a long, long silence. Nobody moved.
Fairerweise wüsste ich auch nichts mit der Situation anzufangen.
Then Kyle got bored and started repeatedly smashing his own face into the hot dog pile.
Erzähl nicht. Ganz normale Reaktion halt.
Hot dogs, please! Kyle started to scream uncontrollably. The couple stood, frozen, watching Kyle bludgeon his face against the cart. Then, suddenly, Kyle used his deep knowledge of hot dog magic to start shooting hot dogs from his fingertips.
Ich hab vergessen, dass das... Was ist das für eine dumme Magieschule? Okay, Hotdog-Magie.
Kyle shot the hot dogs across every part of the street. They came out of his fingers in massive amounts. Kyle couldn't resist. He tipped his fingers into his mouth and began to consume all of the hot dogs himself. Kyle didn't stop eating the hot dogs flying from his fingers. He continued to eat all evening and into the next day. Kyle didn't want to stop eating, but he knew he had responsibilities to take care of. Kyle started to walk to his studio, keeping his hands lodged in his mouth the whole way. Kyle conducted the night's interview while consuming hot dogs. The next night, and the next. Kyle never stopped eating hot dogs. It became part of his personality as much as anything else. Kyle began to not enjoy eating hot dogs at all times, but since it was now expected of him, he continued. Eating hot dogs became nothing more than part of his job, just like getting dressed in the morning in tax forms. Kyle had expanded his professional skill set.
Professional skill set. Das... Okay. Ich liebe dieses Spiel. Das Ende habe ich am meisten gekriegt. Oh nee. Oh Gott. Oh Gott. So gut habe ich lange nicht mehr gemacht. Ja, ending on a high note. Themen der größte Sinn. Ich habe noch so viele Enden zum Freischalten. Ciao.